Let's move this over here. Hey guys, how's it going? Nice to talk to everyone again today. We are the Makko team here with Makko Live, our weekly live stream. We're going to mix things up a little bit this week, but to get us kicked off, you've got me, Tony, Brandon, and Jeremy, the Makko team, or the Makko men, as we like to call ourselves. And today we're going to be talking a little bit about the platform and kind of the state of AI and hardware and software in general. It's going to be a little bit different of a show if you've tuned in before, mostly because we've been heads down working on a bunch of internal stuff that we'll be excited to show off here in a little bit, but is not quite ready for prime time yet. So as a reminder, if you have not yet, go ahead and join our Discord. It's discord.gg/makko.ai. That's /Makko. That's Makko. Discord.gg/Makko, Makko. If you want to hang out with us, we do contests and giveaways. Come and make some stuff on Makko and share it with us. And if we like it and you win the contest, we'll give you some Steam credit to go buy a video game. And if you want to see what we're building or have us look at what you're building and share progress, you can come to office hours on Friday at 12 o'clock Pacific time. We also do this show every Wednesday at 8:30 Pacific, and generally it's a mix of what we're building and what we're thinking. And like I said, on shows like today, it'll be more what we're thinking than what we're building. So without further ado, we got Vince in the chat. Good to see you, Vince. Thanks for coming. Thanks for hanging out. Always good to hang out with you. We were actually just having a great conversation with Jeremy before y'all popped on about the prices of RAM in the world right now and how GPUs are driving those up. And I was asking him what I'm gonna call a caveman question, because I have a skewed view of supply and demand. I think I worked at Nintendo early in my career, and when there was high demand, and I don't know if they still do this, it's been 10 years, but when there was high demand for Nintendo systems, way back in the day, there was a forecasting team whose job it was to actually make sure that we were always under, like that we actually never intentionally had enough to meet the demand. And they were like, there was like a whole incentive structure around making sure they hit that number below what it actually was. And so whenever anyone says supply and demand constriction, I actually, my cynical mind goes immediately to, well, there's got to be just like, demand or a supply sitting in a warehouse somewhere, but because the demand is so high, they're just like sitting on it and driving prices up. And Jeremy was explaining to me that is in fact not the way that most of the modern world works with technology, and so I'm excited to hear that.
Yeah. So prompt going.
By the way, this we're going to be working a bunch on this show, and so you'll see us going back and forth with our bots, telling them to do stuff pretty much the entire time. For example, I kicked off a job on Makko.
Oh, also, you're still in Discord talking to yourself and Makko only, because I was in there too, and I was getting an echo, and I was like, what's going on? And I was like, oh, we're still in Discord.
I do that every time. I leave myself in there every single time. All right, I'm out.
Yeah, okay, so RAM. So, okay, so I'll get to take a step back. So, like last night, and this is just talking about like, I've actually done a lot on my workflows in the last week, not necessarily Makko, just trying to optimize my AI workflows, which I always highly encourage people. You always got to revisit what you're doing, because it's a good thing to say if you can take a week or two now to be, better for the next year or next 6 months, whatever your time frames are. It's like you're always better off having an efficient next 6 months or next 3 weeks or whatever it is, if you can do that. So that's kind of like what I've been reviewing, is my workflow and things. And one of the big issues I've had is that I'm on a Windows box. Most of my development is for Linux backend or just web dev, which yes, can be multi-platform. Yes, there's good tool sets on Windows, but I hate deving on Windows, except I'm a big gamer. So I've always had a Mac and things at work, but of course, when we started this venture, I told myself I'm not going to have my massive gaming PC and then also a dev box. Well, going back on that now, mainly because of RAM. So that's how we get in this. So I've been doing dev on, I got like a frog in my throat. Also, not sponsored, but Celsius, if you want to sponsor us. Great.
You power Makko.
Yeah, so I've been using WSL, which is Windows Subsystem for Linux, to do all the dev. So you basically run a Linux box inside Windows. Well, what's basically slowly starting to happen is as I've gotten my workflows better and better, I've gotten more parallel AI workflows going, gotten more used to the just AI development. So instead of like 1 or 2, you got like 6 or 7 work trees going across the board. And so what's happened over time is I only have 32 gigs of RAM in my Windows box, and between WSL and Windows, I'm always at max RAM consumption, and WSL is basically always crashing on memory, running really slow. So it got me a year down the road to run that setup, but of course it's top of the line machine, so I go check out RAM. Well, extra 32 gigs of DDR5. Well, really, I'd have to. So this is, getting into gamer mode now. I'd have to replace my 2 16 gig slots with 2 32 gig slots just for maximum performance in game, because I won't upgrade my gaming PC to make it be worse at games, or upgrade it to make it worse in games, right?
Yep.
So like that was like $1,000 for the gaming RAM, right? So I was like, well, fuck that. That's crazy. $1,000 for, and it's not that much RAM. You could buy 64 gigs of RAM like 15 years ago for $1,000, right? Once upon a time, that was a lot of RAM, just because of where we were at in computer hardware. But these days, it's not a lot of RAM. And so, anyways, I started looking at refurbished machines, because the next option, I looked at Mac Mini. Brandon has a Mac Mini. And when he bought his Mac Mini, I probably should have bought one too, because they were pretty good. Nowadays, like, to get the 24 gig even, and I wanted 32 gig. The 24 gig configuration's like $1,500 or some crazy shit. It's just like the world
Dang.
has lost its fucking mind. Let's put it that way.
I got the cheap one, 16 gigs it was on sale for like $400.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I apparently should have bought them, because who knew it was gonna, get even worse. And so anyways, so I started shopping for refurbished machines last night. I ended up getting this little Dell mini PC at our local micro center, but I had to basically back price to DDR4 memory. Because DDR4 is the only thing that's not crazy. I was also looking at server setups, like old refurbished servers. The problem with that is like the RAM is a little bit cheaper, because it's not in your consumer PCs and stuff. But all the CPUs they have available are like literally from 2016, and for building software and stuff, compiling and everything, it would have been really slow, because the single thread performance is like abysmal, and we do a lot of TypeScript dev, which compiles on a single thread. Just would have been a nightmare. So I could have gotten an old refurbished server for like $300 or $400, which would have been okay, because I was just throwing headless Linux on it, so I'm just installed Fedora server, easy peasy. But anyways, did a lot of shopping, found this refurbished mini PC from Dell at our micro center for like $600. It's only like 2 generations old of CPUs, which still pains me. I was telling my wife on the way there, it pains me to buy like super old computer hardware for this much, because that thing should have been like $200 machine. Like nobody, like 5 years ago, hardly nobody is buying that machine refurbished for $600. And so, yeah, anyways, it gets you into a rant and gets you into like, why is it so expensive? Because I mean, $600 isn't the end of the world, but like, when you should be paying $200 or $300 for it, $600 is a lot, right? Same thing. Like, I might have just gotten a Mac Mini, because the brand new Mac Mini, which the CPUs in your Macs are a lot better for compiling and whatnot than an Intel i5. It's not even an i7, right? It's just an i5, several generation old CPU, not near as good for compiling. Might have just bought a Mac Mini for $600 to $700 with 32 gigs in it or something, right? Not too long ago. And so the reason is AI GPUs. And really You know what we got to figure out? I need to figure out how to get a whiteboard in here. I'm not gonna do it right now, but so you get all verbal happy hour here.
You could
It's
set up a camera by your couch to point at your actual whiteboard. Just switch to that thing.
yeah. What a lot of the streamers I do watch and YouTubers, they just like pop open a like digital whiteboard and start drawing on it.
Yeah.
I just gotta. That's probably what I need
like
to do.
ESPN.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking Peyton and Eli Manning, how they get up and do something in the corner of their room.
We're gonna run the route here to the MCP.
Oh no, if I started like a real coding stream where I was streaming all the time, I would definitely have a stream deck and I'd have a button that was a camera pointed right at my whiteboard and I would just get up and start ranting. But then I'd need a wireless headset and I need to get, I'd need different things, different equipment. Maybe that's for this winter. Maybe we'll start doing that this winter when I'm not going outside anymore. So anyways, start looking. Okay, so RAM, why is it expensive? So obviously if you're in the gaming market, the GPU market's been like essentially a non-starting thing. I was actually thinking about selling my 3090 last night and buying a 5080 because and this doesn't make sense, but the 3090, which I bought like on launch day, let's look it up, 3090 release date, 2020, 6-year-old GPU. This is unheard of, right? A 6-year-old GPU, which I bought for $1,500, is now, I could go sell it on eBay for $1,100 to $1,300. Makes absolutely goddamn no sense. Well, why is that? RAM, literally RAM. Like the 3090 is not even good for AI workflows. Like take the 5080, for example, if you could fit the AI models on a 5080, it will run the AI workflows dramatically faster. But there's a problem if you can fit. And this is where AI comes into it and why it's ruined everything is AI models are huge. Even massively distilled AI models are huge. So the reason my 3090 can sell for $1,100 and I could go buy like a 5080 for $1,300. Well, the 5080 should cost $500, but outside of that, the reason, a $200 upgrade's not bad. That's how I would look at it. It's all because the 3090 has 24 gigs of memory, right? And the 5090, which I'm sure if you know anything about that, is 32 gigs of memory. Actually really good for AI. Sorry, I'm checking my Best Buy listings real quick. $4,000 to $5,000 right now MSRP across the board. If you can buy a 5090 for $2,000 MSRP, if you find that somewhere, you buy that thing immediately. Like you literally double your money overnight. So, and the reason is it has 32 gigabytes of memory. It's not because the 5090 is some masterpiece or whatnot. And this brings us to the next lineup, which is like the RTX 6000 Pro. Which originally when these came out, they were $8,000 to $10,000, which seemed crazy because these things have like 96 gigs of memory, I think. Sorry, a quick search. The RTX Pro 6000 now, the workstation edition is $16,000. So that's 96 gigs of memory, right? So this is all priced exactly on the memory consumption because these GPUs themselves, the GPUs themselves are basically the same GPU. Right. Like, especially
when you say that, you mean like the actual physical piece of hardware is effectively the same thing with just like a solder difference somewhere or something.
Yeah. So the actual die, so at least in the RTX line, the die between the RTX 6000 Pro and the 5090, I'm pretty sure, don't kill me if this is wrong, but I'm pretty sure it is the same GPU die. It's just a fabrication process. So the better dies go to the RTX 6000 Pro. And I think that like you can usually tell, this isn't always true, but you can usually tell if it's the same line of GPUs. So like the RTX 5000 series, I mean, I know it's a 6000 Pro, but I'm pretty sure it is the same architecture as the 5090s. But usually you can tell because like all the 5000 line, the way chip manufacturing usually works is there's yields in fabrication. So like you're actually creating the same chip. It's not a perfect process. So like half the time, it's not half the time. Let's say 90% of the time you get a good yield. and yields have gotten better over time, right? So like yields used to be like 10% of the time you'd get a good yield. So that's why your top of the line CPUs would be like $2,000. But that's gotten a lot better over time. So now it'll be like 90% or 70% of the time your yields on your CPU. And all that really means is like it hits a quality bar that you want, because it's like it's a very imperfect process. And I'm not going to speak to how they fabricate CPUs. I could try, but I'll probably ruin it. That's a YouTube search if you want to know. But basically, think about it this way: maybe 70% of the CPUs or GPUs come out, or 50%, let's call it, as 5090. Maybe 10% come out as the 6000 Pro. Maybe 20% come out as like the 5060. And so it's like actually the same GPU. What they do is like if it's shitty, they'll just shut half the cores off on the GPU and then repackage it, because, and it's not that you couldn't try to turn them on, it's that, you know, in testing and things, they don't work, right? And so they just shut a bunch of them off, only enable the good ones, repackage it, sell it cheaper. So the manufacturing process is the same functionally. And then the difference today, this used to not be a huge price difference from a manufacturing perspective, but now it is just massive, is how much RAM you're putting on. How big is your board? So the GPU, you have your die, which is like the actual GPU is like that big, and then your board may be like that big, right? And how big your board is determined by how much RAM they're shoving on that thing. And so what happens with, clearly like the 3060, I think, or 5060, actually, I think they relit up the 3060 or something. Like they started selling them again. It's like completely insane. But if you take the 5060 or 5070, I don't even know if there's 5060, but you take 5070, 5080, 5090, the main difference is the RAM sitting on those boards, which used to be dirt cheap. They used to like literally not care. They would throw like 30 gigs of RAM on a low end GPU just because, right? Like, and this just shows how nonsensical our world has gotten. But now you go from, that 32 gig on the RTX 5090, you're at $4,000. You go to the 96 gig on the 6000 Pro, bam, you're at 15 grand. You go to the B300. So this is where it starts getting bad. B300 is the current data center CPU. Let me just look up the cost. Yeah. The B300 has about, I don't know, like 320 gigs of RAM or something. So it's like 3x the RTX 6000. And you can see it almost scaling directly with RAM now. The B300s cost about $53,000, but you have to buy them in a DGX B300 system. You can't just go like buy a B300, which is an 8 GPU rack essentially. It has a bunch of CPUs and stuff in it too, and all your system memory. Those are about $300,000 to $500,000, right? So like that's what all your data centers are buying now, and that's why the world has like gone to nonsense, is because think about it. Like in the past, you did not need data center GPUs with 300 gigs plus of memory. Now you just need it entirely because, and I guess I didn't talk about the reason, your AI models are huge. Like in memory, they take terabytes of memory. So who even knows what like Claude Fable is? Claude Fable may literally take like 24 B300s to run a single instance of it, right? And so when you look at it that way, like running one instance of your software requires a $2 million machine, right? Like just completely insane. And so this is why they're called, all your hyperscalers, your data centers, OpenAI, Anthropic, AWS, Google Cloud, they're buying all these GPUs as much as possible. And so if you're NVIDIA, because it's really an NVIDIA problem. AMD, I don't know what the fuck AMD is doing these days, but I mean, the memory is a global supply chain issue, but like it's not like there's one memory provider that you can go through to get for AMD chips and the other for NVIDIA. It's pretty much all the same providers, and they're going to buy from whoever can sell them memory right now and fabricate the memory. But yeah, it's like just on the consumer side, imagine you're selling a 5090, which is the best of the best GPU for $2,000. Or you can go sell these other fucking behemoths in the main. Well, the B300 is, I think, a different architecture, so it's like actually going to be a different die. But I mean, it's like same design philosophy, but different. I don't think it's the same fabrication process. Don't quote me on that once again. But if you can go sell a GPU for $50,000 and it costs $5 more to manufacture, let's say, why wouldn't you do that over the $2,000 one, right? Like from a business perspective, it makes absolute sense. Like you would never ever sell the cheaper one. And NVIDIA is just hoarding cash right now because they know it's a bubble. Everybody knows it's a bubble. And when people talk about the AI bubble and how we're spending so much money on AI, this is what they're talking about. It's a hardware bubble. It really is what it is. AI is not going to go anywhere. LLMs aren't going anywhere. They're going to be a part of our life forever. Like people are delusional that think that's going away. Technology is like, I don't know of any technology that was put back in the box. For Christ's sake, we have nuclear bombs. Like we didn't just not have nuclear bombs, right? Like
my mind goes to like the BlackBerry, where it's like, oh, the BlackBerry is really cool. You had like email in your pocket, and then it like evolved and took off from there. I think some people are like, oh, it's not going to stick around. It's not going to be popular forever. And now we have smartphones.
People don't want it to stick around because it's a moral issue. Like that's more what I'm talking about. Is like a lot of people wanted to put Pandora back in its box, right? But it's open, it's out there. That's why I say, you know, it's not going away. Like nobody got a BlackBerry and was like, oh, I have email on my phone. This is such a moral issue, and we're building these data centers, and I have no view in my house anymore, and my town's fucked up, and electricity is 5 times the rate, right? Like there's a lot of moral issues with AI that like normal technology, like normal software and stuff usually is not accompanied, right? And then there's even just like what Palantir is doing, and all the spying with the cameras, and there's just all sorts of shit going on in the world right now. Like my favorite meme is like, you know, I think it's Dark Knight Rises or The Dark Knight, one of the Nolan Batman movies. They like go out of their way to create this massive spy surveillance system. And, you know, this is just how much the times have changed in 20 years. And they create this massive surveillance system, and it's like this big deal. And now Palantir is literally just installing cameras all over the fucking country, and they can track everything. A private company can track everything you're doing. Like this exists today. It's rolled out. They can literally see everywhere you drive. They know what car you have. They can record your conversations from up to like 300 feet away. And some private company is just tracking all of that across the American population.
Yeah, there was a story a couple of weeks ago where people were like hanging trash bags and shit over them when they were seeing.
Oh yeah, people are cutting them down. They're like, you know, it's all very dystopian. But like I just find it crazy that 20 years ago this was like the ultimate evil Batman could do.
It was like literally a
track down.
It was Joker, like Lex Luthor, right? Like the villain was doing this.
Yeah, like his Alfred was like basically, or maybe it's not Alfred. It's who did Morgan Freeman play? His assistant.
Yeah, the technology guy.
Yeah. He basically was like, was that Alfred? No, that's not Alfred.
No. Alfred's the butler. Yeah, I don't. The technology guy has a name, but like he's not like a.
He's like Q from 007.
I was just gonna say he's like Q. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like in the comics, that's usually Alfred's spot. Like Batman and Alfred. That's why I was like, I don't know how Michael Caine's performance is really good, so I don't know how I'm forgetting that. But anyways, like that's just how much time has changed, right? Like that was Batman's Lex Luthor moment, and now Palantir and the U.S. government is just selling out everything. And that, like, if you don't think it's going to be used, like some cop got access to it and tracked some woman that got an abortion across state lines, and they literally tracked where she went. They knew exactly where she went, and they arrested her when she came back to Texas or something. So like they literally give people access to the shit for the dumbest reasons. This isn't used for like some national security terrorist threat. It's literally used for like women to go get healthcare, right? It's just like completely fucking insane. So anyways, that's why RAM prices are high, because how do you think Palantir does that? They use a shit ton of AI and a shit ton of things, right? And so like not only is it like we're over here coding our passion projects and people are coding games, which I would say is the positive side of things, you got literal Big Brother, which I do not understand how everybody is not up in arms. Like some people are like, oh, if you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear or whatever. And it's like insane because like literally they can track everything you do. Right. Like the only option to get away from it is to quite literally go homestead, like to get out of the city and go homestead where you control everything that goes up on your own property. But they could still install it outside property lines in like a state park and like point it at your house.
Yeah, every time you go out to get groceries, if you need that, like homesteading, yeah, you should grow it all on your property. But if you ever need something off your property, it's like, oh, you're leaving your property.
Well, my cynical view is like, and I'm for those of you who aren't used to tuning in here, I'm of the three of us, I'm like the more wild of the Three Stooges. And so like my cynical view is that like no matter how righteous or morally upstanding you are, every human being does things in their life that they would prefer that other people not know about, whether or not those things are morality is on a spectrum, but whether those things are morally good or bad, whatever. But like they're every human, the devout priest who's never done anything wrong and cursed in his entire life goes to a donut shop every Monday and just doesn't want people to know that he really enjoys the Bavarian cream donut, but only with the rainbow sprinkles on it, right? He just doesn't want people to know that, and that's fine. I don't even know that about Father Carmelo, but I think that I agree. There was like a whole in the 90s. It was almost like the enlightened man was the suburban dad grilling outside who like recognized that the government was still like out to get him, but was like proud to be an American, but was cautious enough to recognize that there were boundaries that needed to exist. And now all that's gone. Now like it's like we've truly transitioned into the what do they call late stage capitalism, where the only thing that matters is whether or not you've made enough money. And someone made a joke. It might have been one of you guys, or it might have been David or Meyer. But I was on a call recently with someone. They were like, they're like, the justification has become like, hey, look at how much money I made. I must be a great person. Like we should do more of this.
Yeah, it's completely insane. It's like if you have money, it's like that has become, well, I mean, and I know some of our viewers are not in the US, so this is a very US centric view, but in the US, if you have money, you basically have an excuse to do anything, right? Like it's become pretty fucked up. I mean, and you've always kind of had rich, like it's not like rich people have ever not had advantage over poor people, but it's gotten to the point now where it's just completely ridiculous, right?
Well, and it's like flagrant. There was a point, like I said, in the 90s where like the enlightened view was that like you got that, you saw through that, and you realized what was bad. But now the enlightened view is like, yeah, that's just what happens, and you just got to get yours, right? Like that's a crazy shift in like the American mindset.
It's insane.
Get yours for a few years, then go back to being a moral human being.
Well, I have, I don't look like it, but I'm Cuban. Most of my family, all of my family on my dad's side lives in Miami and speak with a very different accent that I do. And we're split pretty evenly down the middle on the political aisle. And so like when I go, which is wild, we all love each other very much and are all very close and have these crazy arguments and discussions together and still come back together in a way that I just haven't seen families do. My mom's side of the family's not like that at all. But, and it's not half, but like there's a solid cohort of my Cuban cousins who firmly believe that they are destined to be in the 1%. Like they are doing something or have a plan or something that makes them believe that they are going to be like multi-millionaires in the next 5 to 10 years. And so they make all of their, not just political decisions, but like life decisions in that worldview. And it's crazy. It's like, the places they choose to live and the cars they choose to drive and the things they do with their kids are just like kind of wildly out of touch with the lives that they actually live in their day-to-day and like the finances they have to support that. and then the other side of the family is very much like living in what I would call reality. I'm on the other side of the family, but it's really interesting to see that that even in that mindset, like I'm 41, and so I grew up with my cousins. One of my cousins now is in that I'm going to be a bazillionaire here in the next couple of years mindset, and the only thing that she and I ever talk about is really like the things like the latest estate tax or the latest what do you call it when is it estate tax when someone dies and you're giving all the stuff that they own to other people, whatever that is. I think there's some capital gains mixed up, and because like we have our family's getting ready to kick the bucket, and we got a bunch of family property down in Miami since the 40s and shit. The point being, like, that's all I talk to this cousin about ever. And it's like I get the impression that it's all she ever talks to anyone else in the family about as well, because like I'll mention it to my cousins every now and then. So like my brother, hey, you're from Tiffany lately. I'll be like, yeah, I mean, she hit me up like a couple months ago talking about like dad's will or Anna's will or whatever, what they're doing with the house down there. And I'm like a pretty far removed from that conversation. So if I get 0.5% or whatever they sell that house for, then I'll consider myself lucky, and I'm not even thinking about that. So I don't have a lot to talk to her about it. My brother was like, yeah, same thing a couple months ago. And so we have like a couple cousins that are just very much like that. I think I was telling David, one of my other buddies is just had a death in the family, and they're starting to break stuff up. And there's a sister that's like was living with the mom in the family house that's worth like $1 million now. And the mom was like, hey, we're going through the will stuff or whatever, the estate stuff, the sister that's the executor of the estate, and mom was like, hey, I want you to stay in the house, and like I want everyone else to split everything evenly. And they were like, well, those two things are in tension with one another, right? Because like the value of everything that isn't the house is like $100,000, and the value of the house is like $1 million. And so what you're saying is like 3 siblings split $100,000 and one sibling keep $1 million. And so they're figuring all of that out now, and it's just wild to me that like and I think the thing that I'm describing is probably more like not a new dynamic. That's something that's probably been happening for generations and generations. That's why estate law exists. But I think it is a mindset thing between like the whatever you want to call the cohort of society that is very much in the lives in the world where they are going to be multimillionaires by the time they die, like multimillionaires in like things that they could point at and say that they own, not theoretical stock, right? Yeah.
Here's where this gets so fucked up. We're not talking about multimillionaires when we say eat the rich. We're not talking about when we're talking about these people fucking society. You're not. Look, guys, we could work and this is the goal. And this is, if there's an American dream, this would be the American dream. I work 10 to 15 hours a day towards Makko and other things because I would like to be able to support a specific lifestyle that I want, which for me is, an expensive wake boat, surf boat for surfing in a lake house, like nothing too crazy. I want a single house on a lake with a lift, with a boat, and I want to be able to do that from the time I'm 45 to 60, right? And ideally, I can go do that as much as I want, maybe after work or something, buy it. But like that's the goal of my lifestyle. And to do that, I would need like, $10 million to $15 million, right? Which sounds just crazy, but this is where I want to put in perspective. So I would need to accumulate $10 to $15 million to have a lifestyle of that way for 45 to 65. Retire when I'm 45. Work your ass off from the time you're 18 to 45, which, by the way, is a large chunk of your life. You're in the working class. You're working your ass off, and then you hit a point where you can retire at 45, which should be the goal of humans, to lower our retirement age, not to raise it, because we have more technology, more productivity. So you should be able to accumulate more money in that time so you can retire early. That's all like good human goals, right? But $10 to $15 million would buy me a single house, a boat every couple of years, and like being able to go out to eat and like an occasional international, right? That's how expensive America is now, guys. Like that. I mean, and that would be with zero income, right? That is not what we're talking about when we eat the rich. Like eat the rich. So like if you have $10 million accumulated and you can do these things in your retirement ages, you know, because you also need enough money to live from 45 to like 90, not just 45 to 65. That's the, you know, that's the type of amount of money. And, you know, different people are different things. If all you want to do is stay at home and play video games and you just want like a decent house and you just play WoW all the time, no big deal. You don't need $10 million. You maybe need $2 to $3 million, but you still need $2 to $3 million.
I was gonna say, but you still need $2 to $3 million. Right? Like,
Yeah.
that's the thing, right?
Or if you have a good investment strategy, maybe if you have $1 million saved and in a good account in a hyper cheap cost of living area, maybe your investments may outpace your expenses, but you still need money accumulated. So like when we like the hard thing is like so many people are so poor now in the US and around the world that like when you say $1 million, even people are like, oh my God, I'll never have that, blah, blah, blah. And that is true, but you should not have to work till you're 85. You should not have to work till you die. Right. But the end of the point is that everybody should have a goal of a standard of living they're trying to achieve. That is like humanity, right? There's things you want to do, you want to go do it. For me, it's not the money, it's the lifestyle I want. And if someone handed that to me tomorrow and just paid for it for the next 50 years, I would just do it. Like, fuck that. Right. Yeah. Vin's talking about having dogs, big farm. Yeah. A lot of people want property. A lot of people want to go like just manage your own property, which is also expensive. Like this is what's crazy is like 100 years ago, 200 years ago, if you just wanted property that you went to manage, you could do that. Like the US government basically gave you that for years and years and years. Right. And so now you need millions of dollars, right?
Yeah, there's an empty plot of 5 acres next to my house that's not for sale, but it's estimated to be like $100,000 now, where what you're talking about is way cheaper than that. And like, and even like I have 5 acres of property, but I have a bunch of pine trees that are dying. And I'm like, I don't even want to think about the cost to like deal with those pine trees. Like, so it still costs money. Even we're just talking about land.
Yeah, everything costs money. Oh, you want a pool? Oh, that's $100,000, right? Like stuff that like used to be like $10,000 to $15,000 is now extraordinarily more expensive. So when we start talking about rich people, and so sorry, Tony, this is what I'm circling on to your comment of like, oh, they think they might have a couple $1 million. I hope everybody works really hard, and you're muted, Tony. I hope everybody works really hard and can believe they can accomplish that over a lifetime. Like that's actually a really depressing world to live in. But like that is not $1 billion. Like the difference between like $2 million, and we're not talking a single billion, right? Like when we're talking about these rich people, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, we're talking about 50 to 100. Like fuck, Elon Musk was worth $1 trillion there for a little bit on the SpaceX IPO, right? Like guys, this is the problem. Saying 1 million is even close to $1 billion. That's, you know, it's so light years apart. And I actually don't know when it starts to become morally, ethically wrong to own so much of the line of production. But there's the theory of reduced utility with money. So the more money you get, the less value that money has. Because like okay, so my boat, if I need like $20,000 a year to run my boat or something, until you have that $20,000 a year, you can't even think about that boat. But if you have $100,000 a year to put towards, so then you get the $22,000 a year to put towards that boat, you can barely make, do. It feels like you're underwater. But then if you have $100,000 a year to put towards that boat, you're like, oh, I got so much money, I don't know what to do with. And this is what people really don't understand is like when you don't have enough to achieve your goals and dreams, it feels like you're always underwater. But literally, if you're 20%, 30% above your target lines, it feels like you have so much money you don't know what to do with. So that's 20 to 30%. What if you're 1,000,000x higher than your target lines? I
think the thing that I always think about, I have a much clearer view than you're not sure where it is. I am sure. I'm super positive, and it's definitely like well before $1 billion is what like a single human should be able to accumulate from without regulation in my and I know everyone
the easiest way is to tax above a certain rate.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
90% tax rate above a certain amount, you make it so you can't just hoard, because like Elon Musk leverages his businesses to do crazy shit, right? So you can't say it's not real wealth because he does stuff with it. That one's a little trickier, but it's actually very easy. Like Nvidia is accumulating like $60 billion right now. That's not good for the economy. We've talked about memory, talked about RAM. It's not good for the general workforce. It's not good for society. So why do we let them do it? Right? Like tax them 95% on that, make stock buybacks illegal. There's some basic things you can do. And then guess what? They would spend it. And them spending it in the economy is much better than
them sitting on it like Smaug in fucking the Lonely Mountain.
That would push so many industries out there, because like even Elon was like, oh yeah, I have enough money to give free electricity to everyone in the world. I just need somebody to figure out how to do it. And I'm like, okay.
Well, that's what's funny about Elon is he'll come out and be like, yeah, I'm like so fucking wealthy. I can do anything I want in the entire world. And then you got these little, like, you got all these people that just, I don't know, just have a very unhealthy relationship with billionaires, like arguing he doesn't actually have that money. He can't actually do it. And then Elon's like, yeah, I can do anything I want. What are you fucking talking about? And it's like, dude, listen to the guy telling you, like, and this is circles on to like our politicians. Is like your politicians need to be experts in these spaces, or they need to work very closely with experts in these spaces, because the reality is there's not a thing you snap your finger and you just solve these problems, right? They're all very intricate, complicated problems. If you say, okay, tax Elon 90%, what does that mean? Right? Like you tax his salaries 90%? No, he makes like, 200K cash a year. Like you're obviously not going to tax that 90%. But like, then how do you tax his companies? Is it just government-owned companies at that point? Well, no, that's not true. To me, if you want my opinion, it all circles around corporate law. The second you take a company public, so when it's a private company, you should have liability for your company, period. And so if your company does something heinous that a person would go to jail for or get the death penalty for, you are responsible for that as the primary owner when it's private. And then when it's public, all bets are off, because the idea of a public company is it's a social contract with society to say we're getting so big that you're so big that like we give you special rules now. And if we're giving you special rules, that means we can institute special rules. And then what I think those two things alone would take care of most of it. And the special rules would be tax rates, or it would be like only, one shareholder can only own so much percentage of the company, just random stuff like that, right? And by doing that, if a individual has liability for a company, the company behaves differently. Like Elon Musk, like SpaceX can go kill 1 billion people. And if Elon Musk didn't order it, Elon Musk has zero liability, right? Like quite literally, right? Like he could do something that causes
satellite crashes into a fucking Ukrainian nuclear plant, right? And he's not liable for it.
Yeah, and which is just completely insane, right? Like when you, like, yes, those are crazy hypotheticals. Yes, we're all humans, so we hope people aren't going to do that. But that's the problem, right? That's really the problem. You aggregate so much power. It's not even the money. You aggregate power, and then you have no liability on that power, which is just completely insane. And I know the U.S. is different than, like, I think it was like 2011 or something. Citizens United, their Supreme Court case, basically gave corporations every right, and like they basically created them as real entities, the same as a human entity, which is also insane. So the corporation is liable, which means no people are liable, because working in corporations, let me tell you, the corporation does not make decisions. The people make decisions. Right? Someone in that company is making decisions, and they all hide behind corporate law. So,
well, they have really expensive lawyers to make sure that they know exactly where the line is, right? It's like, I remember those conversations, but
and there's policy around what you can write down. There's policy around what you have verbal conversations. Because if me and Tony have a verbal conversation about something, and it's not recorded, and there's no evidence, and it was just me and him, you could say the most heinous shit, you could decide the craziest fucking stuff and enact it in a very non-obvious way, or a way that's like impossible to prove in court, and you go kill 1 billion people.
Yeah. I don't recall that conversation. And you don't have to say you didn't have the conversation. You literally, I don't recall that conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. Like,
that is insane.
Yeah. I mean, it's a really, really crazy. And that's why I think the answer is, especially if you're private, So you got like Twitter and stuff. So if Twitter's breaking the law all over the country or all over the world, great. Elon Musk privately owns Twitter. He's liable for all these laws you're breaking. Him personally is liable for all these laws you're breaking all over the EU and everything. Done. Like he either pulls out of the EU or he will change how he's doing things. Because if he's personally liable for it, it changes things dramatically. So.
And it's wild because you see some of this. It's crazy. I feel like you talk about like the world going upside down. You actually see some of this accountability that you're talking about expressed like more. And this is I'm gonna be on a list after I say this, but like more what I would say like efficiently in countries that don't share our democratic values often, right? Like
yes.
if you're the owner of a business in China.
Well,
and you fuck something up, like
it's not our Western or democratic values; it's capitalistic values.
Sure, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
To be very clear,
Late stage
democracy demands accountability. Capitalism, and specifically corporatism, because it's not even really capitalism. Because I would argue corporations are in a way anti-capitalist because you are stifling innovation and competition.
Certainly mega corporations as we think of them. Yeah.
Which is what late stage capitalism goes towards too, mega corporations.
Well, and people always blow this off whenever I bring it up, but it's such I think it always gets hand waved away because it is like the most salient point for me. But like in the right after World War II or right before World War II, like in that whole before the 50s, 60s, 70s, like the corporate tax rate was insane. Like, sorry, quote unquote. That's why I say it, because it actually wasn't insane. It was sane in the U.S.
Well, it was like 90% over a certain point, so it was extremely high. And you know what they did? Do you know how Apple got formed? Do you know how the modern UI So this is why I love some of these like computer science stories and like tech stories are like, I don't even know how true they are when they get retold, but they're like basically mythology at this point. But like Xerox of all people basically created the modern computer UI. You want to know why? Because Xerox was a massive fucking company in the 60s and 70s. Because you know what we did? Everything on fucking paper. And do you know what they did with their money? They sure as hell didn't do stock buybacks because those were illegal. They sure as hell didn't hoard it because it would be taxed at 90%. You know what they did? They started standing up R&D divisions. They started standing up because their goal was like, okay, let's create the next product
that will make money instead of sitting on the money.
Because we need to make money forever, right? And that's what I say the special privilege of a corporation is Xerox is so massive, but you still tax them at 90%. Sure, they can still get 10% gains above, because it's not 90% at like low amounts, right? It's 90% at like high amounts. Everything's a progressive tax. Not like I don't think the U.S. has had a flat rate tax system outside of capital gains for basically anything, sales tax, but basically anything like from an income tax perspective since World War II. But yeah, I mean, like it's a progressive tax system. Corporations making $500,000 a year are not paying 90% tax rates, so you still get to pay your shareholders. You still get to do all those things. But essentially, the gains you can make in a year is fixed, and you either have to reinvest that or you have to just pay taxes, which either of those. And so this is what I want people to understand. The goal of most tax policy should not actually get companies to pay taxes. That's actually not the goal. The goal of most tax policy should be to encourage companies to do the thing you want them to do to improve society. Right? So like we actually opposed to paying a 90% tax rate. We do want Xerox to go create the next UI of computing that literally created Windows and Mac and all these things, right? That is what we want, right? Like the government's not going to do that. 100% the government's not going to do. So, but the government did create the internet with all these tax dollars too. So the government will do large infrastructure level things that the internet probably never would have been created without, all the universities and stuff, public universities being paid to build out. It's a massive infrastructure taking, right? And so, anyways, it's just
that's what worries me about AI is like we're kind of not doing that, right? Like,
but that's why it's a bubble, right?
Like it's a bubble, yeah.
So what's happening with AI is that I think the AI, it's just going to burst in spectacular fashion. And so Brandon knows this. I've been sitting on long-term savings accounts for like a year and a half with all my investments, because the way this will blow up in spectacular fashion is we have a bunch of circular investment dependencies right now in the stock market. So everybody's invested in the same thing. So it's probably going to be retail investors. So it's going to be boomers. It's going to be boomers' retirement accounts and things. Because if you look at the boomer wealth and how much wealth they control in the U.S., it's very, very, very high. And so that's what this bubble is going to like fucking eradicate. Is like, oh, the boomers have $10 trillion. Do they even know they have $10 trillion in the AI bubble? Probably not. So when that and that $10 trillion doesn't become worthless, but once again, the corporations aren't even spending their real money. It's all just like fun money at this point. So when that $10 trillion turns into the value of $500 billion, so it loses 95% or something, like who's losing all that? The companies aren't losing it. They already have the assets, right? They spent the money. They have the assets. The people losing that are the people that invested in them, because they'll never get those investments back. It's just, yeah, it's so wildly a scam right now. And the companies know it too. That's why they're spending as much money as possible as fast as they can. Because, if, Google just went and raised like hundreds of billions of dollars in bonds. So what happens if they can't pay that back? Google's not out any money. They got the money from the bonds. The bondholders are fucked, right? And so we have all these financial instruments to do this stuff, and they're there for good reason, but like they don't work if people are stupid. But at the same time, like, okay, not every boomer I know, 80% of the boomers I know are fucking idiots when it comes to technology, and especially like investing in technology. And so like, can you be mad that an 80 to 90-year-old got scammed out of their money because they didn't do any due diligence? And like, let's assume they're investing themselves, right? Like, can you be mad that they scammed themselves out of money? No. Can you be mad that an investment firm like Fidelity scammed all these boomers out of their money? Yes, that's who you can hold responsible. Because if you're just in a Fidelity mutual fund or something, and they're pissing your money away and you lose it all, that's a very big deal, right? Like,
but Fidelity's an IPO. They don't.
That's a lot of what happened. That's a lot of what happened with the subprime mortgage bomb, right? Is like they had all these people that were, and they didn't hold them accountable, right? They lied to all those people, and then they fled to Florida with their houses that they couldn't take back.
Went bankrupt.
Yeah, they all live in Orlando now.
Yeah, well, that's kind of like what Jeremy's talking about too. Like,
that's what I mean. There was no there should be, those people should have been held. And the same with the Fidelity is not going to be held accountable when my mom's my grandmother's retirement fund blows up. Those guys are now sending their kids to all the private schools that my family teaches at in Florida. And like, I know these guys. I've met them. I've gone to barbecues with them. And you ask every single one, what were you doing before you moved down to Florida? Like, oh, I was in finance up in New York. Oh, really? Like, you were like working in Wall Street? You're like one of the big firms? Like, no, like more like, like real estate stuff. Oh, are you doing like corporate real estate in New York? That's crazy. You're like leasing like WeWork buildings and shit. Like, no, more like, like private real estate. Oh, buying like houses and shit in Nantucket. You dig down just a little bit further. It's like, no, I was like selling poor people houses that they couldn't afford in different states. It's like effectively what the conversation ends at. And they're like, now my kid goes to a $50,000 a year private school.
Yeah. Anyways, it's all crazy. I mean, and it seems, what's funny is it seems like we're just on a rant and it's completely unrelated, but this sort of thing I pay close attention to because we are an AI business. So the real thing we don't understand how this will impact us is the bubble will burst. Even like the internet, right? Like there was a bubble for the internet in the 90s, right? .com bust. It was huge. I mean, now we're not VC backed and we're just doing it ourselves. So that doesn't really have any bearing on us. But the thing that does have a bearing is what is AI compute cost? So like we have like AI credits and stuff right now. Like even without AI credits, does OpenAI evaporate overnight? Does Google shutter their AI programs? because OpenAI, like it sounds ridiculous, but OpenAI feels like the number one big casualty from a bubble bursting is because they're so over leveraged and not making money. I mean, Claude's doing everything they can to give OpenAI market share with software engineers, but which will help OpenAI tremendously. But like we just don't know how that works because like I don't know if you guys noticed, but our fallback and our default model went to ChatGPT Luna, and it's really good, and it is crazy cheap relative to all other models. Like if when we scale, even without AWS credits and things, when we scale, like we could reasonably offer that as like an unlimited option forever at its current rate, if we had 10,000. And so it's just the economics of subscriptions, right? And so that's like really exciting to me right now because it's like a pretty capable model that's cheap. But then the question becomes like, is that going to disappear overnight? Because Anthropic is not doing that, right? Anthropic, like Sonnet, I've debated removing Sonnet from our LLM lineup because like it's just not good. It's like I'll probably add GPT Soul because Soul's the same price as Sonnet and it's comparable to Opus, right? GPT Terra it's not as good as Kimi, but it's about as good as Kimi, which is why we don't add Terra because it's a little bit more expensive than Kimi. But like Anthropic's really not competing because similar to Nvidia, they're just such massive market leaders with their current capacity, and they can't scale capacity. Brings it back to the supply issue. It's like can't make memory, can't make GPUs, can't scale capacity. Why would you compete in a good business sense, right? And this is why no one really knows where the bubble is at. The bubble's really not about how much people use AI. This is the other thing I think people misunderstand. The bubble, we've just talked a lot about all this crazy shit happening. What happens when those trillions of dollars, because a lot of them are real dollars they're spending, what happens when that disappears? That's when the bubble bursts, right? So it's all propped up by all this nonsense. Like we're already to the point where all that cash Nvidia hoarded, they're just buying parts of companies and basically handing them GPUs. So we are already to circular investment in this thing, right? And so like now Nvidia
we're speed running the bubble.
Yeah, Nvidia is essentially paying themselves. So I mean, it's probably smart on Nvidia's part because some amount of these companies will continue to exist. And if you get 10%, I think it's like 10% OpenAI. It's like crazy percentages. And maybe some of those deals fell through. I don't know. But like if you can have like 10% of Anthropic or 10% of OpenAI, and all you had to do was essentially buy GPUs from yourself and have a $0 loss, like from Nvidia's perspective, from a legal perspective, I don't know how that's legal. Sounds fucking insane to me. But from Nvidia's perspective, if it's legal, why wouldn't you just trade like stuff you're already manufacturing at 1,000th of the price you're selling it for this stuff? Because like I think these $50,000 GPUs probably cost them $500 to make, right? Like or cheaper. And so like from Nvidia's perspective, it's a non-issue, right? And Nvidia is a very small company, so it's not even like they have a massive payroll or anything like that. But anyways, to me, that's the biggest sign the AI bubble bursting is impending. Also, a bunch of data centers are getting canceled. People are fighting back against that, rightfully so. I mean, we should build data centers responsibly, and we can. But the big companies already have so much fucking money; they should have to pay rightfully for whatever data center they're building
without subsidized electricity or power, or whatever.
Without subsidized electricity. That's the biggest thing. Is like if they want to build it, that's fine. If it makes sense to build it, that's fine. But you should be paying a premium on the electricity, not getting discounted.
Yeah. There's been a couple data centers planned for Michigan, like Salem, Michigan, that they declined. But who knows what's going to happen? Like the company, I think, is suing that county in Michigan, being like, "Oh, why'd you cancel our big plans?" And so,
which is insane in and of itself. Voters should be able to come out and say, "No, you can't do this thing in my county." I get it, like if there's investments and things, but like the idea you can sue to force people to do things in their own, like this is why I hate corporations so much. Is like, you are basically removing the value of like human and democracy. This is why I call it not democracy. This is why I took offense to your not offense, but took issue with your comment.
Yeah, it's like it's actually the opposite of democracy.
Like democracy is literally people are voting to not do this shit, and then they get to sue and get to override the vote. What? Like what are you talking about? No, the people in a county that live there, that like they control that area, they voted not to do that. What do you mean you get to overwrite the will of the people? That makes no fucking sense. Like that is the opposite of democracy, right? And that's why I call it corporatism.
And we talk, you know, you talk a lot, you talk a lot, I listen a lot about how technology is changing and becoming faster, and we're speed running everything now, right? Like everything related to technology that isn't the actual technology is happening faster. We've done it before, we've seen it before, and so these cycles are going to continue to happen faster. And the thing that I'm just continually blown away by in this conversation is that like it seems like we get a little bit worse at it every time instead of a little bit better at it. Like with the internet, it feels like we should have learned a ton from the internet.
Misinformation. I mean, like people are getting dumber, and it's actually, so this is the unexpected turn of technology. So a lot of your top smartest people, I wouldn't even say they're getting smarter necessarily, because like if you compare, you know, sure, they're smarter people, but they're certainly able to do more. So your say top 10% of your population is able to do more and more and more and more. This is also true with AI, exceptionally true with AI. However, how did they get to be the top 10% of people? You can't get to be the top. I firmly believe this. You cannot get to be the top 10% of people if you use AI to get there. Because using AI as a child in your adolescence while you're learning fundamentals of how your brain works, I guarantee you will make you a dumber person.
You're not going to learn how to learn. That's the whole purpose of like elementary, middle.
Well, I think we started to see this with tablets, right? Is like there's a lot of case studies out there now, a lot of peer-reviewed medical stuff out there around, you know, the earlier you release tablets to a kid, the less cognitively developed they are. Just in aggregate, like their whole lives. And we have longitudinal studies around this now. And so a lot of that has to do exactly with what you're saying, right? Like the thing I was reading started with, if you want to see something incredible, go ask a 13 or 14-year-old to pantomime taking a picture. And if you're our age, you will expect people to go like this, because this is how you did taking a picture when you were our age. But if like kids don't do that, right? Kids, if you tell them how to take a picture, they're gonna hold up a phone, like a pantomime holding a phone and going like this.
Even them on like doing like a cell phone, like we do like phones like this, like flip phones or whatever, and everyone else goes like this now with their
and so just like even the form factor of how you interact with them.
This is so stupid.
I know,
right? Slapping yourself, like what are you doing? It's like everything's just a flat hand. Well, as on the sorry, side tangent on the pantomime, it's not really, if everything's a flat hand, it's not a, like, get the fuck out of here. Be creative.
Well, that's exactly right. Like it, like even the like the descriptive symbol of it is less creative, right? And so I think that AI is just the next expression of that, right? It's like if you abstract away the critical thinking, which is what we're talking about with the tablets, right? You abstract away the need to understand why something as simple as like an OAuth works, right? Like, like when we were growing up on the internet, like if you wanted to sign into two websites and have them talk to each other, like one, that was virtually impossible. And two, if it was possible, you were like interacting with both of those websites in such a way that made you kind of understand like how their login systems worked. And so like even just something as simple as that, like, oh, the Yahoo Mail login system is different than the Gmail login system in the way that they do two-factor authentication. And like if you sign up for two-factor authentication with Yahoo, you actually cannot choose to use a Gmail. But if you use Gmail, you can use a Yahoo. Just like stuff like that, like they don't have to think about at all, because all of the auth now is one click, whatever, right? And that sounds like such a stupid example, but it's just like if you then extrapolate that across like every interaction that you have with a device, you are suddenly find yourself in a place where you don't know how the device works. You just know that if you press the buttons, it does stuff.
And like what's crazy is you're talking about tablets and all that, and like the studies have been making the rounds, and there's more and more studies. Gen Z is the first modern generation to be dumber than the previous generation, and This and it literally aligns perfectly with giving technology to kids sooner. Like it aligns almost perfectly with what's called one-to-one devices in classrooms. And it's funny, my wife's a teacher and she's also right. Well, she was a classroom teacher. Now she kind of like does technology for a district and stuff, local district here. And she, like, I was in the office the other day talking to them and they were like talking about AI and they're like, they thought I was going to be all like, oh yeah, you should get the kids using AI. I was like, literally, if it was my kid, they wouldn't be allowed to use AI till they were like 18, like straight up. Like you would have to do, and so it's also
Maybe even
funny
later.
because it sounds like so like, oh, old man yelling at cloud, but like, so I grew up in the math discipline, right? Like I was one of my majors, and like this is a very traditional learning technique in math. You always do things the hard way first. You always learn the process. You always learn why it is the way, and then you learn algorithms later. Always, 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 always. There's even in advanced math, you do that. And quite literally, you can't go to advanced math if you don't know the why behind basic math, because everything builds on itself. And so I see AI as the same thing. It's the exact same thing. There's really like a test you should have to pass without AI before you can use AI for a specific discipline. Right? Like in the education sense, right? In the real world,
yeah,
sure,
like a
whatever,
basic skills, right? Like do you like I mean almost like a driving test.
Yeah,
right?
no,
Like
quite
yeah,
literally. And so like when you're talking about school systems and things, it's like there's even the aspect of a chat bot where you can ask questions and it answers to you. I don't necessarily think is good because like I've just watched too many people. One, they don't read. Two, they don't absorb information because they can just ask the AI the next thing,
question.
right?
Yeah.
And so like there's a difference between like having to read a textbook or learn from someone where you have to reason and figure out the next thing than just going, tell me the next thing, tell me the next thing.
It's the call and response without the response, right? Like you need the response is where we're learning. The call is where they're teaching, right? If the teacher's like, hey, go learn a thing, and instead of going and learning the thing, you're like, I read the first sentence, explain to me the rest of the thing.
Yeah.
Then you didn't learn the thing. But if this is a really interesting, we've talked a little bit about education and AI and how to teach people how to use AI. And that's one of those things I think could be really interesting is like a tenet or a truism, like we were just saying, like always do the hard work first, is like, if you're gonna use an AI chatbot to help you with anything, then you have to set it up initially to ask you questions about what you understood or something like that, right? Like it has to be a critical conversation where everything that is like the AI knows what's important to learn and it makes sure that you learned it. Like that would be the AI the real AI learning tool, not the, hey, here's an LLM, go try to do the same learning you've been doing for the last 30 years, right? Like go memorize the declaration, the first page of the Declaration of Independence, like matters a lot less if you can just ask the GPT like what the fourth clause of the First Amendment is, right?
Yeah, but once again, and people miss this in math growing up, they go, why do I ever need this? We don't actually need you to memorize your Constitution or Declaration.
Correct. Yeah, you don't actually. Yes. Yeah.
That's not actually the point of that. The point of that is to fucking develop your brain and teach you how to memorize things, right?
Yeah.
Like, and this is what so many people miss. And we actually have a lot more brain science now. It's like a very fascinating field. The process and motion of doing things creates brain pathways in your brain. So it's not the actual material that matters so much as creating like a memorization process, a learning process. And this is what I'm fundamentally concerned about. And I'm sure there's some way to apply it to AI, but what I can tell you right now is education always misapplies technology first because they optimize for test scores. That is not what we should be optimizing for. It's just straight up. Is like test scores are supposed to be a lagging indicator of what you're doing.
Did they observe this? Yeah. Did they observe? Did they consume the thing that you were trying to get them to consume?
But if the problem is if your inputs are, we need to do things that just make our test scores higher, that's not the only indicator. There should be, at Amazon, we talked about like anecdotes in aggregate are data. And if you go talk to every fucking teacher in the world, even if test scores are fine, and they're not fine anymore. They were fine for a while. Now they're terrible. But like, even while they were still fine, people would be like, these are the dumbest kids I've ever met.
Yes.
Just constantly across the board. And like, guess what? That's better data points than your test scores. Because if everybody's fucking saying the kids are dumb, let's ring the fucking alarm bells and change what we're doing.
Because they're grading the homework, they're doing
like
the micro work.
Same thing. If you talk to any of those teachers, even like my dad, but context, my dad was a teacher growing up 30 years. I grew up in the public education system, from the outside looking in, and then as a member of it. But if you talk to any educator, they all have the same kind of like, these tests are dumb and not a good use of our time perspective, but for different reasons. Some of them have Jeremy's perspective, which is the correct one. Like, hey, these things are actually creating misaligned incentives and not actually teaching the kids anything, but really a ham-handed mechanism at holding teachers accountable in a way that doesn't actually hold them accountable. Because what ends up happening is they teach towards the test. I can't, like, that was a thing. Like dad and my stepmom, who was a principal, using the words teach towards the test was like, it was in seminars they went to and continuing education, like, don't teach for the test. It was like they probably hadn't teach.
And the amount of teacher happy hours I've been to, where it is literally 5 hours of a bunch of drunk women online yelling about teaching towards the test.
Yeah,
it's very high, very high.
That data is just available, right? It is just super, like, there, like, we talk about it like the only way to get this data would be to go to one of those happy hours. That's not true, right? Like, again, thinking about resources and investment and prioritization, like, the government could easily say, we're going to go run a study. We're going to talk to 5,000 teachers at happy. We're going to go host 500 happy hours where we hope 10 teachers show up, and we're going to ask them these questions, and then we're going to have a great data set. And all they're going to see is don't teach towards the test. And like, that should be where we're spending our money. But instead, what happens is the Kaplans of the world, the proctors of the test that are now making hundreds of millions of dollars delivering these things to students nationwide, also hire lobbyists who get deep in with the people who are making those decisions and putting laws forth. But the thing that should be happening is all of that data should be going into making this process, which is actually like not an insane thing. Like, let's find a way to have a centralized perspective on accountability for these people who are teaching students, is like the right question to ask. The problem is with, as Jeremy was saying, corporatism and its current expression of capitalism, is that we get to the first answer and stop. And the first answer is usually who could pay the most. Because they're going to make the most.
Well, and to be clear, capitalism functionally has no place when you start talking about social programs like public education.
Yes.
The capitalism expression of that is go compete for private schools that outperform your public schools. That is the capitalistic expression, but public schools should not be influenced by capitalism in a heavy way. And I think that's a big deal, is like, this country being the US, has been built on social programs and like democratic socialist programs across the board. And people, for some reason, don't understand. Like, I mean, they clearly don't understand what the different paradigms are, but they think it's due to capitalism. But which is crazy, because if you could literally, I don't know, I grew up in Kansas. Traditionally it's a very weird state. Votes Republican, but traditionally, historically, very civil rights oriented, I'll say. And
it's like
so
Minnesota.
It's like and I don't know if you follow, a bunch of viewers probably don't follow politics in the US, but like, Kansas elected a bunch of Democrat presidents, but the Senate and stuff was always Republican and things like that. So like, actually kind of what you want government to look like. I mean, the last like 10 years kind of gone off the rail as the MAGA cult has done. I think the MAGA cult's been the worst thing that ever happened to this country. Maybe that's it. The worst thing in my lifetime. Like, I don't know about, I can't.
Who knows what Andrew Jackson was like?
But definitely the worst thing in my lifetime. And it's just made conservatives completely insane, because conservatives used to want what was best for the country. Like, that's what's crazy. I grew up in a hyper conservative area, family, all this stuff. And even my parents growing up, like, they wanted what was best. They just like had weird takes on certain social issues. Now it's like, if they can stop like a trans athlete from playing sports, they'll burn the country to the ground. Like, it's literally insane. It's like, and I'm just like, guys, let the fucking NCAA make their own rules. Like, go get on the NCAA board. This is the thing I don't understand too, is like, conservatives used to be against federalism. Now they're all for federalism. We need to control everything at the federal government. And it was really funny because like growing up, I was like, yeah, it's really important to have a good balance. There's always attention to where the balance was. And the Democrats were all for federalism and conservatives are like anti-federalism. And now everybody's just like, the federal government needs to solve everything. And I'm like, where did we fail in our education? Like and this isn't just American history. This is like world history. Like, did you guys not learn about Voltaire? Did you not learn about the American Revolution? Did you not learn about all the things and people we picked up from other countries to help us form our government? And I don't know. It's just like, it's honestly insane to a certain degree. But anyways, the U.S. government done a lot of really good things for the U.S. people, and everybody believes that's capitalism. And it's like, if your government is doing things for the people, it's not capitalism.
It's not capitalism. Yeah.
Right. Like, you can argue communism, socialism, there's, different flavors of different things, whatever.
But it's most certainly not that one thing.
Yeah, it's certainly not capitalism, right? And now a capitalistic society may generate the revenue for the government to be able to do those things. That may be true. But the government handling things, like roads, schools, like literally, like we talked about the internet, building the internet, your water system, like all these things, right? Are the government handling it? And now, should the federal government be building your local sewer system? Probably not, right? And that's where we got super fucked, right? Now, should the federal government handle building a nationwide infrastructure? Yes. So, electricity is a weird mix of both, but electricity is a national grid. What is it run by? Private company. Why? Why is the number one pollutant in our fucking world run by private companies?
Well, same thing like waste management, right? Like it's right. That's the thing that, it's like, there's like, that should be, I mean, like that should definitely be something the government just wholeheartedly runs. And then you see what happens when they don't. It's like one of the most corrupt, like it's like a what do you call it? A caricature of a corrupt organization.
This is what's hilarious to me.
Yeah,
prison system is another good one. Yeah. The privatization of that. The waste management's hilarious to me. So now I live in Missouri, and Missouri is like, so in Kansas growing up, Kansas, Missouri next to each other. Missouri was a slave state. Kansas was a free state. Like Kansas University is called the Jayhawks. The Jayhawks were historically, literally, there's a group of people called the Jayhawkers that rode over to Missouri, killed a bunch of people, took the slaves back with them and freedom, right? So like that's the history between Kansas, Missouri. That's your TLDR. So growing up, you can imagine we talked a lot of shit on Missouri all the time. And I never thought I'd live in Missouri. And now that I'm in Missouri, people are like, yeah, it's not as bad as you thought. And I'm like, oh guys, it's worse. Like, I don't know. like it's really weird, right? Because Missouri has some mountainous areas, very heavily forested, very, very nice, like landscape to live in, and very, very nice from that perspective. But it's like the people, like it's like they missed basic education across the board. That like in Kansas, you just talked about like it was common knowledge. In Missouri, it's like you start talking to them and they literally don't know anything other than Fox News. Like my MAGA family in Kansas, you start talking to them and they know things that Fox News has not told them, right? In Missouri, they literally only know what Fox News told them, or Newsmax now, right? Like that's it, period, full stop. And so then when they get anybody, this is why like QAnon took off so bad. Sorry, now we're going really down the rabbit hole. All the conspiracy shit took off because like people in places like Missouri, and the farther rural you go, of course, it gets worse and worse and worse, only get their data by what they're told. And, you know, this is getting really historical now. You're talking about Protestant churches and Christian church and stuff. It's baked into it all the way to your religion because, you know, the pastor tells you what to think. You need to do what your pastor tells you. The pastor in these areas have a lot of authority in the community, right? And so, like, they're basically trained. And historically, I guess you could argue there's probably a functional purpose because, like, a lot
distribution
of
of
people,
information was hard, and
and education was very poor in these rural communities and
so the
stuff.
likelihood that someone who could get a letter and read it was probably
Yeah.
the local
Well,
priest, right?
and historically, your priest or your pastors or whatever were highly educated, so they go out to these rural communities, and now it's almost flipped on its head. Like it's like the pastors are some of the dumbest fucking people in the world, and it's like, so my dad was a pastor. I grew up in the church, and my dad had like PhD, all this shit. So that's coming from someone that grew up in a pretty prestigious like education background family. But then like now, like and in Missouri, it's really bad in Missouri. This is why I say, like, the more I'm in Missouri, it's like all these, like, oh yeah, I like dated a 16-year-old when I was 24, and that led me into being, and I was the youth pastor, and that led me into being the pastor of this church, and now I'm married and have 5 kids with that girl I groomed. Like, that's their pastors in Missouri.
That's wild.
A
Like,
lot of
I don't
bad
know.
stories with pastors.
Yeah, and like, of course, you know, with religion, there's a fucking endless rabbit hole. But like, this is what I always tell people. They're like, "Oh, do you believe in God or whatever?" I'm like, it literally doesn't matter, because I know what happens in these institutions, and I don't want to touch at all. And like, the problem is that happens at a tremendously higher rate than other institutions. So,
I mean,
like,
I was gonna say in Florida, it was less the past, because we're more of a Catholic.
yeah,
My community was more Catholic down there because I was Cuban, but it was all of the, and so the priests were generally like old Spanish men. So it wasn't generally them. Like, they were. I mean, I'm sure they were fucking someone, but the people that were hooking up with the kids that I knew were the people that ran the youth programs, right? They had the 22, 23-year-old recent college grad that went to the church growing up and got a social sciences degree that he couldn't do anything with, would come back and run the local youth youth church night until he got kicked out or married someone and got promoted to the next version of that.
I grew up in the Catholic community too, and we had stories about that in Michigan as well, where it's like, oh, what happened to this person? They're not running the youth group anymore. Oh
yeah.
Oh, they're married to Kelly.
And what's really, really sad about this, right, is like, there's tons of people out there, and this is where, like, I think people get hyper offended when they listen to stuff. Like, there's tons of people out there that actually just want to do better in the world and like make the world better. The problem is like, when the stuff your bad apples are doing is so heinous that like it's unacceptable, like it just can never happen, right? Like, and it's happening at like 5% rates. Like, it's just like completely unacceptable. Or if it was like you've only heard one story ever, but if you went around and like asked everybody in this area, everybody would have heard a bunch of stories, and they'd all be different stories. That is,
well, and it's funny that you say that, because like I'm on 2 podcasts on Wednesdays. This one in the morning and then one in the afternoon. And the one in the afternoon is almost exclusively Northeastern people, right? Boston, Philadelphia, New York. And again, like, everyone has different flavors of the problems that we're talking about, but in those areas, this is not it. They have like, there's a whole different pattern of whatever you want to call, like a teenage to early 20s abuse, right? And it's less church related, it's more work related, it's more, they're in the community doing stuff. But when I was talking about like growing up in Florida and going to house parties where like the local youth pastor would show up and like hook up with a high school kid, the look on these people's faces, like, there's actually like a clip that one of them posted on LinkedIn that's just like all of our faces when I'm telling this story, and it's great because everyone's like and so, again, to your point, like those, for them, like, that was probably the first time they'd heard a story from like about a high school teacher or someone in the educational system, quote unquote, as if you want to call the youth church people that, abusing a kid that was not like a TV thing that they saw in the news, or like it was the first time they'd ever heard anyone say that, like, oh man, like, I know this person, I'm drank with this person, and they're telling me this thing. But like, on the flip side, like, I grew up in Florida. Like, I can't summon many examples and I've worked at like a pizza place, and I worked at a restaurant. I can think about like older managers that were like hooking up with younger women and stuff, but never like what felt like a a pattern or a historical reference that I could look at and be like, oh yeah, this is the way. It's kind of like the way this works, right? But for them, that was just like totally the norm. They're like, oh yeah, like the way that happens in the Northeast is this way. And so but I do think that and hopefully this is where I think we should be using AI and technology. Like we can start digging into pattern matching and figuring out like why that is the case. We should. That's what we should be doing with AI and figuring out like why that is the case and what actual incentive structures we can put in place to like make that not true. To like just make that stop. That all feels super possible with the technology and the resources that we've got now. We're just applying them in different places, which is insane to me.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's also there's it's really weird because like you're a manager, you're dating a kid, whatever. It's weird, but like there's a weird shift online because like I think there's some very interesting perspectives people are starting to develop. We're flipping the other way where it's like, oh, you were 19 or you're 18 and you're dating the 16-year-old you met in high school. Oh my God, you're a pedophile. And it's like, no, that's how like 90% of our parents. And so like,
it's the power dynamic, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, but it's less a power dynamic and more a off the cuff misalignment with how humans behave. So like there's like, this is why I think the problem is really hard is like, if you were going to be a person that was going to use AI to go analyze all this stuff, what type of person? You're definitely not a person that thinks like a 19-year-old dating a 16-year-old is okay. Even if they grew up together, even if they met in high school, you would still think that was.
Yeah.
So what conclusions are you going to come to? You're going to come to whoever the 19-year-old is like a horrible person, blah, 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 blah. And what are you going to come to? You're going to demonize those people. I believe the red pill movement grew out of men being demonized online. This is very controversial now. I do not agree with the red pill. On the record, do not agree with it. Think it's stupid. Think it's bad. But as Tony was saying earlier, we all did things in our lives that were stupid and bad and mistakes. I cannot. We haven't even talked about social media today. I cannot imagine being Gen Z, growing up with social media in that way, because I got social media when I was a sophomore in high school. Facebook.
Junior in college.
Yeah, there was like MySpace and Zynga and stuff, but those are just different.
They weren't what it is now. Different. No one was looking at your MySpace and saying, "Oh, you did this last weekend, and thus it's going to have an impact on your life and career in the future."
And so I got Facebook sophomore year of high school, and we all had flip phones. So people started posting like, oh, you're out having fun doing stupid shit. But it wasn't like to the point now where like people are like, oh, you got to look cool all the time. This is why you have so many millennial photos of us just doing stupid shit, because we grew up doing stupid shit, just straight up stupid shit.
Well, and like recording it in a way that like just wasn't sure. I remember you talking about like, again, like, whatever, we're on a podcast, super controversial, but I have a video of me in Miami, Florida, or Hollywood Beach, Florida. It's like an hour north of Miami, with a bunch of my buddies. And there were like probably 7 of us. And my buddy's dad or I don't know if he still is, but at the time he was the chief of police in Hollywood, Florida. It's like we could do whatever we wanted in this town. And we have a video of us driving around a street sweeper at like 2 a.m. It's like a giant street sweeper. Like it looks like a tank, right? It's a Zamboni. It's a huge, bigger than a Zamboni machine. There are all of us hanging off of it. And like, we're making the things move, and then we just parked it. Like we like just left it in the street, right? We just like we took the video, we laughed, we left it in the street. And like now that'd be all over TikTok, and the cops would come find us, as they should, and arrest us, and like our lives would have been forever changed.
Should they? So maybe, this is actually the point, and this was my point of like where this like red pill anti-counterculture movement's coming from. Should you ruin 5 kids' lives because they got in a vehicle and drove it around for half a mile? Like literally, that's what happened.
Yes.
When
and we weren't drunk, by the way. We were just being dumb.
So you didn't hurt anybody. You didn't break the shit. You didn't cause $1 million in damages. You didn't do. Should you ruin 5 kids' lives for that? I would say absolutely fucking not. Like that's crazy. They're fucking teenage boys. Like you know, people get really mad at the boys will be boys, and I get it in context of like harassing women, but like there are things, boys will be boys. You're gonna go do stupid shit. You're gonna hurt yourself. You're gonna fucking, you know, probably get close to killing yourself a bunch. That is literally baked into like humanity and
that's like,
well, that's how you learn
the genetic
too.
level, right? Like that's it's like a survival thing, and in some cases, right? You're like supposed to go do the thing that feels like it's dangerous, so you know if it is or not.
Yeah. So like, I actually think we should, I mean, we do this, but we should handle teenagers completely separate than we handle the rest of the population. And I think what's happened is like people with social media and all this always online stuff is people have started to treat teenagers like adults. They're not fucking adults. That's why they're not fucking adults and they're not adults, right? Like, or they shouldn't be fucking adults. But that's why pedophilia is a bad thing, right? Like, and really it's not, there's a different word for it. But if you're, you know, it's prepubescent is separate than postpubescent, but that's why we say anybody under 18, no, because you're not an adult, right? Yeah. It's not actually a sexual maturity or anything like that. It's literally you are a fucking child in the brain and you need to grow up. And so like, I think social media has done this thing where like, it's like giving them the illusion of growing up and they're mature, but they're not.
Everyone's trying to mimic an adult, but they're not.
I've mentioned this before. It's not just mimic an adult. I think the actual social fabric changed dramatically. And what I mean by that is like when I was growing up, I imagine when you guys were growing up, there was not a mechanism for adults to interact with children whose lives they were not in. There was not, right? Like you could not go to a daycare, you couldn't go to the Boys and Girls Club as just like a random dude or woman and just like
I see.
Hang out with the kids, right? You just couldn't do that, right? You couldn't like sit down and talk to Sally or Timmy or whatever and learn about them and deeply understand them and get them to trust you. I mean, that certainly happened, but it was like those patterns, as soon as they started to emerge in a relationship between an adult and a kid, were like, oh my God, this guy's a fucking weirdo. And
like chat rooms.
Yeah, you're like, you're not allowed to be in the boys club anymore.
Predator and all that. And everybody universally was like, hey, this is weird. And now you got all these people on Instagram or TikTok like communicating with these kids all the time. And it's and the weird thing is like there actually always was like mentor relationships and access to that, but it wasn't like you're my best buddy type thing. And that's when it became.
I was thinking like summer camps and stuff like that too. Like adults would help kids like have fun and craft things or whatever.
But the idea, that is actually a great example. I don't know if you guys went to summer camps. I went to summer camp. If you had such a great summer camp experience that you exchanged a couple of letters with your summer camp counselor, that was like a magical thing, right? If your camp counselor was sending you deeply emotionally charged physical letters 6 months after you went to summer camp, your parents, like my dad, was beating that guy up, right? Like that, like not even like the law wasn't even getting involved at that point. He's going and kicking his trash can over, right?
That's controversial, but I think physical violence, not gun violence. The problem is gun violence has gotten so bad, and so you can't usually have physical violence without gun violence.
Yeah.
But I actually think self-policed communities are not a thing anymore.
Yes,
and that is why police violence has gotten so bad, is because when we were growing up, you get in a fight beyond school, you're not getting expelled unless something crazy happened. You might get suspended for a day or two. You're going to get yelled at. You're not getting fucking expelled. And especially if you stand up to a bully or you do something right, you might even get a day of in-school suspension, but all the teachers on the back end are going to be like, okay, you did the right thing. We just have to do it because it's the rules, blah, 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 blah. Because all the teachers know who the fucking dickheads are, right? Like it's no secret.
Because they're not idiots and they're in the school.
But like nowadays, like it's like the zero tolerance bully thing. And I think this is where I think a lot of societal changes come from educational policy. We don't know how it's going to impact, right? So like the zero tolerance bullying, what that functionally did, I understand the idea behind it and it's a good intent. A lot of education stuff is good intent, and then it just has like wide reaching stuff. Zero tolerance bullying is kids are not able to do any sort of like making fun, fighting, anything, right? So it's no bullying, but bullying now has turned into kids fighting with, like in any capacity.
Conflict.
Yes,
Right.
conflict.
Yeah.
And so like you get all these people that are growing up with, not only are they growing up with this like online bullshit, but there's like zero conflict. Because one of the reasons I believe all these people act the way they do online, there's like two categories of people online that I feel like are the worst. It's old boomers that are fucking delusional and remembering high school and think they're the badass and can beat anybody up when they're fucking 75. And now they're cosplaying as, this like biker gang people or whatever, right? Like Harley's really big with boomers right now. And I think it's just because people like the idea that they're a badass and they've never been an actual badass, right? And so they're living the last 15 years as a badass. And then you have your like younger people that like do not know conflict at all. And these are your two groups of people online that are like, they're your worst trolls. They're the most toxic people. They're the ones creating the most drama. And it's not like that like millennials and Gen X don't do this sort of stuff, but like I think it happens at a much lower clip because like Gen X and millennials, when we were growing up, if you did something like even in high school, if you did something on Facebook, you're getting your ass beat after school. If you like fucking embarrass someone's girlfriend or like that happened like that. And guess what? You learn really quick. Your fucking online actions have consequences. And so I think that we live in this world where online actions don't have consequences. And the consequence cannot be you're getting fucking swatted by the police. That's why we're to where we're at with all this stupid Gen Z shit. I would have never in a million years thought swatting was a thing.
Oh my God,
we would have showed up at your fucking house and beat your ass, but we wouldn't have fucking called the cops on like some bomb threat. Yeah. Like that's and a lot of times that's the other thing. A lot of times fights aren't like people watch too many movies, right? Because a lot of times fights are not like, oh, you're beating each other bloody. They're like you push around, you threaten, you yell at each other. It's like monkeys posturing around each other. Like we really are just monkeys. I was gonna say
like ancient tribes, right? When they show up and like they'd have the two people beat their chest. And they might punch each other a little bit.
Yeah, that's literally what it is. And like I think people like don't
everything's
do
a Michael
that.
Bay movie, right?
Yeah,
Everything,
And so now it's like, well, and I think this is why, like, when Gen Z goes and does stupid stuff and Gen Alpha, we're seeing a lot more property damage. We're seeing a lot more like actual things that we would have almost never done on purpose, and they're doing it on purpose. And I think that's part of the problem is they're seeing shit online. They haven't been taught there's consequences for their action. Well, guess what? Never getting taught there's consequences from a fist in your face and then going to I'm getting arrested for the rest of my life because there's nothing in between is like very, very
That's real bad for
right?
society too.
Yes. Yeah. And so like this is where it's really hard as we get more civilized, whatever, you get smarter. We're losing all the human social constructs that existed, and they existed for reasons.
For reasons.
And in the modern era, people are going, I don't like this. It's bad. We should just get rid of it. This is why I talk about churches even. Churches have a lot of social constructs. They're there for a lot of reasons. Let's get rid of them. Great. What did we replace them with? Literally nothing. So great. We don't want to beat each other up on the playground when we get in a conflict when we're 12. Great. What are we replacing it with? Fighting on social media, like shit throwing, like literally ruining people's lives with videos and posts and like accusations, like doxing
people.
Yeah, like that's what we're replacing the fist fight on the fucking the playground with. Like
in the parking lot or in the driveway.
How is that? Yeah, how is that better? How is it better? You get drunk and get in a fight at a bar, and instead of just going out onto the fucking parking lot and like having your row with someone and going home and never talking about it again, how is it better to like literally get banned from all the local bars or go to jail or like that's the thing. And like it is an interesting thing because like sometimes and this is what I think people are trying to avoid, sometimes that stuff is worse than what's happening and so people are going, because it happens 1% of the time or 0.1% of the time, we have to get rid of it from our society entirely. But once again, you don't have a good replacement. We saw this with like homeless people in Seattle. It happens all over the place, right? Like we're going to stop doing this thing because it's morally wrong. What is the replacement? There is no replacement. Well, things exist for a reason, right? Like this is what I always tell people. The human experience does not work the way it does just for no reason.
Yeah.
We have so many years of evolution and getting here, and it's not just like it's wild to me. People will go do biology evolution, but then they're like, oh, there's not social evolution. Well, no, there is social evolution.
Well, yeah, we have brains and they evolve.
Yeah. So you can't just delete your social constructs, you know, like it's really, you know, without, you know, the gender stuff, it's like, oh, it's a social construct. Yeah, it is, just like everything else.
Just like everything else. Yeah, like if we were going to get rid of marriage tomorrow, there would be
and then
some
people,
sort of,
you know, people argue against that, and it's like, bro, marriage is, you know, you're right, marriage, friendship,
Right,
like,
yeah.
like everything's a social. What are you guys talking about? Like, yeah, like what the fuck? And so I always, like, I'm a big believer that humanity needs normal behavior and expected behavior to thrive. And I think that's where I probably differ a lot with a lot of other progressives and things, is like, they're like, no, everybody, there's no normal behavior, there's no expected behavior. But like, that's literally insane, right? Like, if someone's like friendly smile is someone else's threatening smile, like, society can't.
Yeah.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, and I think that's some of the benefits of the older constructs too, like religion in general too. Is like, if you live in a household where a smile is angry, and then you go to church, a smile will not be angry there, and they'll teach you the right societal norm.
Yes.
Right. But and that sounds so ridiculous, right? Because, like, you know, on one hand you'd go, oh, well, we'll never, like, we would never, like, that would never be an issue, right? But I've just watched in the US the last 10 years, the main political issue be fought over is transgender in sports.
It's crazy. It's insane. I mean, it still happens. There's some basketball player last week or this week.
Hey, I declared for the WNBA draft.
Yeah,
it's so fucking stupid.
It's so ridiculous.
It's all so fucking stupid, and people are acting like,
right?
And it is performative. There's like 20, and you know, it's all transgender women, right? And there's like 20 transgender women in the US that play sports, and I'm just like, are you guys fucking shitting me? There's 400 million people in this country. And you're focusing on 20 fucking people, like,
yeah.
Like, I'm just so over it, because it's like just from both sides too, because it's like, the conservatives fucking, they make it their entire experience, but it's like, okay, NCAA, yeah, great, ban transgender women. What happens? Literally nothing. There's 20 people. And then you can fucking move on, right? They fucking move on. NCAA banned them from competing in NCAA. And honestly, high school sports, I don't give a fucking flying shit about your high school sports. Like, most of you high school athletes, and I was an athlete growing up.
Same.
Never gonna do shit ever again. It's just about hanging out with people. It's just about developing some life skills.
You should be excited that there's a girl that wants to hang out with you.
Yeah. Who cares? Like, literally, like, you guys make it way too important.
We have girls on the wrestling team because there wasn't a girls wrestling team, and they weren't gonna not let girls wrestle. And I always have that perspective. I was always on the track team. I played football for a little bit. I didn't love it, but I was never on a singles. I was very rarely on a single sex athletic team, and like, they were just better. They're just like more fun, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like, I mean, I get it at the pro and college, and because that's the other thing in high school, like, the gap between men and women isn't, I mean, it's still there athletically, but it's not like
dangerous.
Yeah, it's not like if you go and take an NFL player, put him next to me, and then next to, like,
even a college football player, but
or even a college football player, and then next to, like, you know, some professional women athletes, it's like, my strength level with no working out or doing anything may be at least in the same hemisphere. Skill level, no, but same hemisphere strength level as those women. And then the professional male athletes are just, they're not even real humans.
One in each hand, and
yeah, male athletes quite literally are great apes, right? Like, that's the thing, is like, you put them next to a gorilla, they're fucking gorillas.
Yeah,
like,
we used to call them genetic phenoms. Just like if you're good enough, if you have the genetics to play in college and the NFL, you're likely a 1% genetic phenom.
Well, and this is where it gets, like, really just bizarre in general, because it's like, this is where societal norms, like, right, like, it's not popular to say that men are, like, literally stronger than women, and it's like, but testosterone, like, is a thing
from a literal perspective, like the way
biologically, biologically and chemically, right?
It's like, yes, we have science now where you can take testosterone shots as a woman and go on hormone therapy and get a lot stronger than you used to be. But like, why are we acting like that's normal?
And that's still even in that scenario, so it's still not happening since birth, and so it's still not going to be from an optimization standpoint. Like it's still not going to be the same. And like I think a lot of this is rooted in like this I'm going to call it an entitled sense of equality, where like it feels like we've as society developed, like if there has to be an equal and measured response to everything, right? So like if men are stronger, women have to be smarter or faster or something, right? And like that's
I was
that's
just
also
talking
not the
with
way
my
the
wife about
universe
this.
works, right? Like yeah,
and we came to the conclusion that maybe a woman's like sense of smell or taste is superior, and color, like sight. And I'm like, interesting. So
maybe, but maybe not, right? Like
maybe not.
Like
maybe people have genetics and everybody is different, and
that's
there
what I'm
are
saying. Like, I
some
don't think
people
that there's
better
like
at certain
symmetry
things.
Yeah, I don't think nature is symmetrical, is my point, right? And we want to make nature symmetrical, and we just we can't. So like, but there, I mean,
well, and that's
where
equality is not equality, right? Most modern equality movements, I should say, because I don't believe this historically, but most people are, outside of poor rich, are for the most part like equal. And I mean, it's not all 1-to-1, obviously, but for the most part, historically speaking, we're the closest we've ever been. And you're micro optimizing now, right? It's like you ate 20 grams of protein, now you eat 100 grams of protein. Could you eat 150 grams? Yeah, but you're great, right? Like you're good now. And I think, I just think it's like people are just trying. It's not equality they're fighting for anymore. It's superiority. And I think most people are doing this. I think they use social issues as an excuse to do this.
Yes.
But let me tell you, I've been playing League of Legends again. And people must feel superior in every situation, and they go fucking toxic as shit. So I don't believe this is an intrinsic social issue, like social, like men versus women issue. I think this is it's
a human thing.
Human thing, yes. And it's very popular in certain spaces. Red pilling. I don't even know what the opposite, because the opposite's definitely happening. But they just want to feel superior, and the group they want to feel superior to is the opposite.
True.
Which is bizarre. I'm like, okay, that's a random subgroup to fight against half of human civilization. Like, why? But
and it comes back to ego, right? Like there are differences in males and females, obviously, but like we choose to like place emphasis or importance on the ones that we recognize, right?
Yeah, I mean,
strength and speed for men, and
applied to every different group of people. One of humanity's greatest flaws, I guess, is like you have a group of people that's different than you in some capacity. You gotta
try to be better than
try
them,
to be better.
Yeah.
And it's funny. It's funny also because like most of the time, people don't actually try to be better. This is what I can't stand. If you're like, hey, there's this group of people, they're really fucking good at this thing. So it's like another basketball team. I'll take this. I play basketball growing up. There's, a good basketball team. I want to fucking be better than them. So I'm going to go work my ass off to be better than them. I think in modern society, and it always pains me when I like agree with like hyper conservative people, because I'm like,
everything else about you sucks, but this thing is correct. Yeah.
And my uncle, I mean, I agree with him on non-political stuff, but he was just talking about, it's like kids these days type speeches, and I was like, oh my god, am I gonna agree with him on this? And it's like it totally is. And he's like, kids these days just don't want to improve, and they don't want to do things. They don't do, his big kick was like self-help books. But like I've literally been in conversations with other people my age and younger, and I'll be like, oh yeah, I learned all this stuff on YouTube, I watched all these tutorials, I was like doing all this stuff. They're like, wow, how did you spend an evening learning about something? And then I'm like, Jesus Christ. So like, if you want to, this is what I would say. If you want to be better than someone else, I actually think it's a good mindset to have. But you don't get to be better than someone else just by shit talking them. Go fucking do something.
Like
all the books back here that I have, I've actually read. And it's like a lot of stuff on like how to make good beer, how to program, how to do a bunch of different stuff. And it's because I didn't shit talk the person who made better beer than me. I just went and made better beer, researched it, experimented, and made better beer.
And usually everybody that's better than everybody else, you usually don't have to tell people.
Yeah.
Like people know you're better than everybody else. Like, you know, like think about it like attractiveness scale. If like a 10 out of 10 person's walking down the street,
Everyone's looking at them. You're like, oh,
guy or girl, yeah, like it doesn't matter. Everybody knows they're fucking hot. They know they're fucking hot. They're not walking around, you know, like all these influencers going, look at me, I'm hot, blah blah. No, like if it like everybody knows what a hot human is. Like doesn't like you don't need to tell people, right? And so
that's another one of the social construct too.
Yeah. Yeah. And so like I feel like if you spend your entire life just telling people why you're better, or arguing that you're better, that's the big thing. You're not even telling them you're better.
You're making a case for it. You're litigating it.
Like if you walk up and you're like, yeah, I did, you know, I shoot 95% from the free throw line. I'm just better than you because you shoot 80%. Great, easy, objective, move on. But if you're like trying to, like, you know, Brandon, you and Janice's conversation about maybe women taste better or see better or whatever, like, why are you picking things that are 100% like subjective? Like if you're not talking about like reading letters, like what do you mean you see better? Like, okay, I'm gonna argue based on all the women I've demoed my sound system to that women can't hear. That's a dumb fucking argument because I know there's tons of women that are extremely good listeners and extremely good at identifying sounds and things, right? But like it's all subjective shit anyways. Like what do you mean? What do you mean you're better at that stuff?
Right. Yeah, that was the whole conversation. It's like subjective, hypothetical, whatever. Yeah, it's not based in facts or anything like that.
But like that's, I don't know, it's just a micro case of like, oh yeah, I'm better at this thing. And there's like, and oftentimes better means I trained in it or I did like for example, if you look at like women in makeup and they say, oh, I'm better than men at makeup. Well, yes.
Well, yeah, I mean,
but are you actually better at makeup or did you train yourself and virtually no men?
Even with the sense of taste or smell or whatever, you can go train and be a cicerone or something like that. And a sommelier. Yeah. And you would certainly be able to identify different smells and tastes. And it doesn't matter what your genetics or whatever are, you're trained to identify that stuff. You're better at picking those things out.
Yeah. And
you trained in it.
Most of those training courses and most of the training stuff is like you basically need to be in like the top 30% of the human population in it. And then you're good, right? It's like if you want to go into it as a field or something, like people are better than others at different things. I just don't think I think it's just genetics and like random chance. I don't think it's
you know, your proclivity, your proclivity to like something and want to learn about it, and your exposure and opportunity to learn about it, I think are like two of the like those are the deciding factors. Like I have buddies that I was growing up with that would have loved to get into some sort of video game technology based career, and you know didn't have a computer until we all went to college. And so like that whole, I mean, you know, that's if anyone's here is listening and you're 18 and don't have a computer yet, like you're not lost, but you certainly have less of an advantage than someone who, you know, got the first computer when they could, and the internet when the internet came out and stuff, right?
Yeah, as an example, I didn't start programming when I was in elementary school, but like I remember my dad brought one home for work. He let us get on AOL in the 90s. We had a family computer in 1999. I remember getting Age of Empires 2. That's when I started getting into games. I had my own computer because I had access to computers growing up. One of my buddies, one of my mom's best friends, I should say, they're hyper wealthy. So they, you know, in like 95, they had like these full flight simulator stuff. So like I went over, that was my first exposure to computers. I was like, oh my God, this is crazy, right? In 1995, you have full flight simulator. So without any of that, I probably never would have gone into computing. And because of that, I asked for a computer very, very early, saved up some money. My parents helped me buy, you know, this shitty Dell computer. But that's where I started setting up like Counter-Strike servers and getting exposed to like MMOs like Final Fantasy 11 that have macros you had to write. And we didn't have AI to generate macros, and we didn't have all these websites. So you had to like figure out the syntax. Those were the very early days precursors of coding, right? And so it sounds silly, but like without all that exposure, from the time I talked about brain processes earlier, without that exposure to learning how to do those things without a readily available answer and having to get books or read forum posts or whatever, it developed a sort of learning process in my brain that obviously has paid massive dividends as I've gotten older. But you're probably not going to be able to learn that very fast when you're 40 starting. So I would say
everything from like the time you have to spend on it to like just the level of energy you have to focus, right, is like completely different.
And like growing up too, like we had a computer lab in my elementary school, and that got me going on just word processing, browsing the internet, very basic things that still needed. I still
do not teach anymore, by the way.
True.
Right. And we had Mario Teaches Typing, which was even if you didn't have a computer.
I had a little owl.
Even if you didn't have a computer at home, it was still a learning process on how to move your fingers around and all that. Like it was still a good process. And so like that got me interested in, like, I've been lucky enough to have like that programming classes in high school and stuff like that too. That got me interested in everything. So yeah, I think it does help.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, don't get me started on public education. Like we went to really good public schools, but like we had so many extracurriculars and things. And it's not about coming out, like a lot of those aren't about coming out being like a programmer. It's just getting exposure. Like we had like 3 programming courses I took. So like even before I went to college, I was like, yeah, I think I'm good at this. I think I want to do it. Right.
Well, the whole curriculum wasn't really about programming. It was about following a set of instructions in order to get your program to work. And so even
so it was like one of those it was like a Boolean logic game.
Well, sometimes that was, I mean, everyone's first like programming thing was like Hello World and all that.
I love those things. I had a little robot that we had to move around the screen to make it turn left and right.
But like even if you didn't want to become a programmer and you're just interested in technology, like you were learning like how to interact with technology or with a set of instructions or something like that. So, which is all like the core part of learning that you need before you start using AI.
Anyways, all right. Tony, do you still want to do sector scavenger stuff? I don't know if Igor and Ben are still here. I know it's a lot. Sorry guys, it's a lot of
just chatting.
Free form today. We didn't have a lot of produced stuff ready to go, so we kind of got on our tangents and let them go.
Yeah. I all stemming from AI, strangely enough, and that's just how interconnected AI is right now in society.
So I've got sector scavengers in a place where like the updates we were talking about are going in, but it's not really demoable right now. I think we want to do that next week. Like I'll show you real quick. You know that many people watching, but I've got so I guess I'm lying. We'll just look at this real quick.
I'm gonna take a quick 1 minute break. I'll be back.
Do it. Huh? Where is it? Oh, there we go. There we go. And so, just as a reminder for folks that haven't tuned in before, if you're not familiar with Sector Scavengers is a deck building roguelike set in space. So think Slay the Spire set in space. Instead of enemies, your character is fighting against the environment. You're trying to loot these ships, and every time a turn passes, you go and collect stuff, and then the ship takes a turn, if you will. And the turn that the ship takes introduces things like hazards and things that might damage the ship. And ultimately, if the ship gets damaged enough, then it breaks and you die before you extract. And so right now, you can see I've got some debugging stuff here. What all this is saying is I've actually I'll just restart. I've gotten into the ship and I've got some decisions to make, is effectively what that screen was just telling us. Oh no. And now, because I'm in the middle of a process, the preview's broken. So I'll just talk through it and I'll let it keep working. But basically, the feedback that we got was that it felt like the game was very much an exercise in just clicking cards and clicking specifically like the same card over and over again and watching your character kind of walk around the screen. And the reason for that was, there were a bunch of reasons for that, but ultimately where we landed is that the environment in Sector Scavengers was behaving very different than the enemies in Slay the Spire, and that's really supposed to be the analog. And so in Slay the Spire, the enemies get their own turn, and they take different actions that are generally telegraphed or in some way understandable to the user before they happen, so the user can make decisions on what cards to play. None of that was happening in Sector Scavengers. You showed up and you press buttons, and the character would go and harvest the loot from the ship, and then you might take some damage, and then you would go to a different room and you would harvest the loot. You might repair the ship, but there was virtually no way to die, and there wasn't a lot of interesting back and forth between the user and the ship. And so over the last couple of weeks, I've been working with Claude Code to go do a bunch of deep research on that what makes that dynamic fun in Slay the Spire, like what makes it interesting for there to be a different set of enemies in every room, and for the enemies to live in categories of enemy types, so that you know that these 3 enemies are poisoners, and so when they do damage, they're going to make the player take damage over time. And so the strategy for the player there is going to be to have like purge cards that allow them to get rid of that poison, or bursty cards that allow them to quickly kill everyone in the fight, so they don't have to worry about taking damage over time, as opposed to an enemy that has high burst damage that they can only use once every 3 or 4 turns. With that enemy, you're going to want to load up your attacks during the turns that they're recharging their power attack, and then apply defense cards when they're right before or during their power attack. So in this case, what we're doing is we've built hazards into the game, and so those hazards are going to be things like a valve is broken and is spewing hot liquid magma all over a deck, and you have to close it. And every turn that goes by, the deck melts a little bit, and so you either might take damage or have a greater chance of taking damage. And at the same time, you need to play repair cards that allow you to go and repair the thing that's broken. You can only play 1 per turn or 2 per turn based on the energy that you have, and so you're going to have to ration what you're playing and why, and then hope that you play the correct cards in the correct order to stop the encounter, stop the danger, and then ultimately navigate through it. And so you're doing all of that stuff I just described, while also still looking out for the primary objective, which is to ultimately collect loot or salvage from the ships and sell them back to your robot overlords to pay your debt. So the tension is that you can decide to keep diving through the ship each time and getting more and more loot and making more money to pay off your debt, but you're doing so at the risk of running into more challenging encounters that you might not have the cards to solve, or you might not draw the cards to solve in the required amount of time. In which case you would die and lose your loot. And so my hope is that after this next round of play tests, the feedback that we get is that the environment feels like an enemy that has its own turn, and that in each level or in each scene, each room, whatever you want to call it, the user, it is clear to the user what enemy category or what environment category is being served to them, and that they have some sort of visual indicator to understand every turn how that enemy or how that environmental based enemy is going to behave, so that they can strategize and play cards accordingly. I wish I had the demo here.
The hazards.
Oh, here we go. Yes. Yes. Okay. Sorry.
The hazards that you're talking about are pretty. I hate like a poison damage, like damage over time. I was just playing Hades 2, and there's a challenge where you are poisoned, and I just died almost instantly. Like they kept on like stacking poison on top of me. I'm like, oh no.
Oh, dude.
But I didn't realize that there is an antidote. So I think you having like an antidote card is pretty good, like a way to cure it, because that's just a terrible feeling as a player, like slowly dying.
Yes, you're like, oh man, like this sucks, and that's the idea, right? And like, so sometimes you might run into that, and you might have a bunch of burst cards in your hand. Like you might have 3 cards that you know that if you play, they are definitely going to kill the enemy that you're fighting, or solve the environment problem that you're having. And so in that case, you might not wait to draw your purge card. You might just like kill the enemy real quick, so that even if you're poisoned, you don't start taking damage over time that would kill you. Or the opposite, if you don't get a burst card, you don't get something that's allow you to kill them quickly, but you pull your antidote card, you want to play that immediately. Mm-hmm. So here we'll run through here and see if it's working. So here you go, real quick. the encounter or the problem that the user is running into is that the corridor is blocked by debris, and so we need to play orange colored cards, attack cards, to clear the debris. It says that I'm taking 5 whole damage per turn, or sorry, per card while blocked, but I don't know if that's that might be a relic of a different one. So then this is all information here. This is not going to live in this menu obviously long term. I'm just using this to tune. So right now, it's telling me that it has construction hazards. There's 3 out of 3. If I try to leave without solving this, it's going to do 2 damage. And if I had only 2 hull left, that would kill me before I got out. It's telling me what is in the salvage nodes, how much money that I can extract, or how I can get out of this level, and then it's repeating that, which I'll get rid of. So let's play the debris card here and see if it works. It looks like
you gained health.
Yeah, I gained health, and it did clear the debris and progress the room, the encounter forward. It says I've secured 4 pieces. There's no instability here, but it's not actually. It didn't tell me that I solved the problem beyond highlighting the buttons here, which might be what we want. And it didn't give me any reward for solving it beyond the energy, so that might be broken. But let's end turn here and see. Oh, I just realized it's not going to do anything when end turn because I cleared the hazards. So let's go to the next room. It's a narrative thing. Same challenge. So let's all right, let's clear that one. And we only have to clear 2. So I'm not going to clear the next 2. I'm just going to repair. See what happens.
So it looks like you lost health when you entered the new room. You lost 2 health, and then you played your card to gain 3 health. And now, obviously, the repair card was a lot of health.
What was a lot of health? Yeah. Okay, it's telling me what the next issue is going to be. That's fine. So see here, this is where it's not. I'm going to have to fix this. These obstructions are clearly not either these are not correct or this is not correct, but it looks like it's reading off of this, and it should be reading off of this, right? There's X number of obstructions.
Maybe it created a new system that's not hooked up to your UI yet. That's kind of what it seems like. Maybe you have your legacy code, your legacy system.
Yep.
That's still hooked up when you should probably.
And yeah, I should be able to end because I should be able to end turn any time, and then just have the hazards take effect if I'm ending turn before the hazard is cleared. So that's perfect. So actually, Jeremy, we've been doing a lot of back and forth on how to do this in this kind of troubleshooting in Claude with one of our other games. But if you were me, the Makko user here, and you identified what we just identified, I'll tell you what my inclination is. My inclination is to start a new chat and in plan mode, explain what just happened. Like, hey, we have the encounter system. Looks like it's displaying what needs to happen for the encounter on the left-hand panel and in the debug panel. And it looks like those 2 things are not saying the same thing. Please trace and analyze this issue and let's fix it is how I would prompt this. But do you think there's a better way to prompt that discovery?
Yeah. The one thing you might do is get context before you start the new. Oh, no, Tony Classic just fucking clicking buttons.
Oh no, I thought you wanted me to grab that. God damn.
Yeah, I wanted you to listen to what I was saying. So what I was gonna say is have it explain like what it just did. So it had like
so I could copy and paste that.
Yeah, like in 1 paragraph or less. So you could copy that in and be like, hey, we just implemented this. It doesn't seem like it's hooked up to the UI. So
guys, don't click off stuff like that and don't be dumb.
So now you got to figure out how to provide all that context to it. So now you got to explain what it just did, which I assume is going to be a worse explanation
than what it would have done. So wait,
well, because we don't know what it did, but yeah, we know the results of what it did.
Yeah, well, I have some of what it did, but yeah. So what I should do then is because I did this 28 minutes ago, I should just roll this back then and just give it the same prompt and then give it that question when it's done, right?
I mean, I wouldn't redo all the work. Work's already done.
Okay. I also have the prompt that I gave it, and so like I know what I asked it.
I think the only way you just repeat work like that in the exact fashion is if you have like unlimited usage, right? Like
Oh, yeah.
you would definitely never do that on a throttled account.
If you were paying it, yeah, that's a great call. Don't, the thing I just described is something you only do if it's broken or you're not paying for the service for like
Yeah, if
20
it's
years.
unsalvageable, then yeah, you should roll back.
But yeah, this is definitely not
yeah.
unsalvageable. So here's the
Yeah, so now I would just try to explain it to the best. I was just saying, like, you always, when you're going to a new context, whether you're using Claude Code or anything, you always want the AI to like summarize it very succinctly, like 1 to 2 paragraphs, and then you can provide that as context so that it doesn't have to start from scratch.
Well, and I think as a meta point too, I have, like, me personally, Tony, you just witnessed it, like, quite a bit of ADD, and like I want to get things going and moving. And I think that the meta point from my perspective for folks like me is like, you probably want to just slow down a little bit when you're doing this. It's really easy to get into a flow where you're just like, okay, it did a thing, the thing didn't work. I want to tell it that it didn't work, so I'm going to start a new conversation and tell it didn't work. Whereas just slowing down a little bit, taking the extra 5 minutes, 2 minutes to ask the AI to summarize what it did so you can take that to your next conversation is actually really important, because now you're going to watch me write a bunch of stuff that is probably, like Jeremy said, a lot worse than what the AI would have created.
It's going to actually take you longer to write it yourself.
It's going to take me a lot longer. Yeah.
And so AI is already not fast, right? So like trying to click things 30 seconds faster when you're dealing with AI workflows is kind of pointless, because the workflow already takes like that last plan probably took like 5-10 minutes at least to plan and run.
Yeah.
And so trying to save 30 seconds is like, so we deal with this from a technical perspective all the time. People are like, oh, so you're like, oh, you have a 10 millisecond overhead in this API. That's a big deal. With AI, nobody cares, because the request is going to take like 10 minutes. So no one cares about 10 milliseconds, right? Or even if the request takes a minute, no one cares about 10 milliseconds. But when you're doing a bunch of fast requests, like immediate, like button responses or saving to the database, 10 to 15 milliseconds can start being in the order of magnitude that it's noticeable by the user. So the general guidance on AI is like, the AI is what takes forever. So like, save yourself some time, and like, and almost, I would say this is true in most things. Actually, you save yourself time by not going fast. The faster you go in certain things, the more time you waste. Usually,
the more prone you are to mistakes.
There's actually
then you have to go back and fix it.
I think it's like a military or an engineering term. I only see it in military movies, which is why I say military. But it's like, slow is smooth, smooth is fast, is what I've heard. Like, people when they're debugging bombs and stuff say, and it sounds like that's what you're saying. It's like, keep it slow, keep it intentional, and if you do, you're actually going to save a bunch of time, because you're not going to have to retype a bunch of stuff from memory.
Yeah, and the reality is for programmers, like, you could never get output this fast. So it's programmers had to create processes where writing code was the long pole. So like, you would never do like context summarization or PRs, or code reviews, which are the faster part of the process. You would never do those super fast because writing the code took so long, right? And so with AI, some people have had a hard time adjusting, because like AI produces stuff so fast they want to skip the other things. And as AI gets better, more and more of us skip like code reviews specifically. But it's just a lesson engineers have learned. And then when you're building out a system, this is the biggest thing that non-engineers struggle with AI. And when you're building out a system, there's an idea or a product. It's you crawl at first so that you can walk later on, so that you can run later on. And so you set up all your, this is where, like, in the AI space, I fundamentally disagree with a lot of people that are like, you can just vibe code everything and worry about it later. It's just never actually been the case in programming. And I don't believe AI makes it easier to undo mistakes.
So it makes it easier to make the mistakes, right?
Yeah. So like, what did you just post in here? Did you paste your original prompt?
No, well, parts of it. And then I'm going through and I said this is. So we made a bunch of changes based on what's in plans. It looks like you thought you implemented this, but some of the stuff you did.
Plan. Don't say in plan.md. Like, why are you saying that?
Oh, just because I have a plan.md doc.
Oh,
I did actually. It's not there.
Well,
anymore, so.
when you hit the plus sign, it gets rid of that.
yeah. The plan.md is a Makko thing,
Yeah.
and it's for your old plan.
Yep.
Right. So like you're starting a new plan now. That is just an internal. That's just
a temporary file
thing. Yeah, you should not. That's why I was asking if you're referencing it. So, yeah, I mean, this is the code is there now, right? So I would explain it so what are you trying to solve here, right? Because like,
yeah, so there's a couple
you solve one thing at a time, not 25 things at a time, right? So like pick one thing and fix that one thing.
Well, I'll do that then.
So
so this is what I
believe the issue is the upper right debug UI has the correct information, but the rest of the game UI does not have the correct information.
That's one of the symptoms. What's not happening is that the core thing that we were supposed to add, the quote unquote enemy turn, in this case the environment turn, isn't firing. And I think it's because there's legacy code in here that, like, before, what happened was you had to complete the encounter before these buttons would light up. But now you should only have to complete the encounter for the leave room button to light up. You should be able to end turn at any time. And end turn is what triggers the hazards to, like, the quote unquote enemy turn. But right now, end turn only lights up when there are no hazards because you've completed it, right? So it's like a soft.
So here, instead of using a bunch of LLM slop to do that, why don't you just explain that?
Yeah.
Because you're going to get better results. LLM slop is LLM slop. And like you're better off explaining it in a way you just explained it to us than trying to like hyper optimize for something that you're not even optimizing for, right? So like it's kind of a weird thing because like this goes back to like education and AI, I guess.
Well, because like this is really what I wanted that jumped out at me. Like I want, and I mean, like I said, I could just write it, but like I like the way that it put it. Like this is what I wanted to tell it, right? Is like the flow should be do this thing, right? Enter the room, end the turn, run, but I can just write that, right?
Yeah, you can just write it. And usually when you write it in like human terms, you're going to provide guidance that is stripped out from the LLM slop, or you didn't review the LLM slop super closely. So it's actually saying something you didn't intend or something. That's why a lot of times it's better to just rewrite it. Also, for the stream, so I play around with true vibe code. I consider there's kind of two things: engineer assisted coding and vibe coding. I play around with, like, Makko's closer to vibe coding for most people, but I play around with true vibe coding workflows, and even with Fable, they're not great. So like doing this flow of like being very specific, being iterative, the AI assisted in. Okay. Blah, 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 blah.
Wait, can you say that again? I think you broke up, at least for me. I don't know if Tony recognized that, but.
At what point?
For the stream.
What? Oh, yeah. You were saying you were saying that you were explaining the difference between vibe coding and AI assisted coding. Yeah. And you were saying that even with Fable and Claude, you still need to be this super specific. And then after you said even with Fable and Claude, you need to be super specific and give it direction, you kind of cut out a little bit.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
But I think that was the thrust of what you were saying.
Yeah, that's basically the gist. And so, like, I was just saying for AI assisted engineering, You would also have opinions on like class structure, class hierarchy, all those things, which we don't necessarily have those opinions. Well, Makko has those opinions, but you don't necessarily have those opinions. But I do play around with vibe code workflows all the time, and they just don't work. And that the vibe code workflow is essentially kind of what Tony was doing. Have an AI generate you a reference doc, paste that reference doc into the AI workflow. Just say, Claude, take the wheel is what I like to say. And then you don't review the outputs. And it's getting better, but it's still the smaller compositable issues you do, the better. Like you focus on one thing at a time. Don't just keep posting massive reference docs.
Because then it's just going to keep making more
It's just-
systems that
Yeah, it's just going
maybe
to barf
conflict
on
with each other.
itself.
Like for
Yeah.
example, like that, I think, like Brandon said, that's exactly what happened here, right? Like I gave it a bunch of stuff to do that was multi-system or multi-feature in nature, and so it, instead of tying it into existing systems, it looks like it did that in some places, but it also just created some new shit, right? And so now I have to go back and say, like, all right, we need to, for one of the new things that we added, we need to optimize it. And instead of, and there's like more than just this that we need to go fix, right? Like Brandon was saying, like we need to turn this menu into, all the stuff that's over here and make sure that it's reconciling with all of these other menus. But I don't want to do that in the same session. I want to say, hey, first fix the actual thing that the player is experiencing, which is they should be getting an enemy turn after their turn, and they should be able to end turn without solving the room. And then after I do that and it's working, I would go and say, hey, we have this debug menu or pop-up or whatever we want to call this. Now we need to reconcile it and make sure that it's true with the information that the player is seeing. And then once you do that, get rid of it, right?
Yeah, make sure it's in the existing game loop and did not create a new game loop.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's kind of like when you give it a spec file, it assumes you need a new system, right? So like, remember, it's all trained on stuff. If someone came to you trained on human data, so if someone came to you and gave you a new design doc after you had just implemented a system, your first assumption would be like, oh shit, we got another design.
This is new. Yeah.
It wouldn't, like if someone just gave you the same design doc in like 10 different small iterations, like you'd be like, it'd be hyper confusing.
Why
right?
is this person doing this way?
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about that before. Like, like if the mechanism for review is like send the person making the thing your shared document and then just tell them every time you make an edit, that would be an insane way to work.
Yeah. I think that is like one of the main things, like taking a step back, working with AI and slowing down a little bit. And it's like when we were working at like Amazon and all that, we had processes in place because they worked for humans. And I don't think we should get too far away. Like obviously like make improvements for whatever we're doing now, but I don't think we should get too far away from that while working with AI, because like it is trained on human data. We are the humans directing it.
And so Jeremy,
you get it.
Oh,
are some of your files like massive? Because it didn't read that many files and your context filled up like.
Yeah. Well, let me just make sure. Okay, that's why. There's probably this doc, I imagine, is huge then. It looks like it's reading a.
Yeah, and that actually.
Yeah.
So this is actually.
I mean, I don't know how big this is, but it's probably.
Yeah, this is actually also a huge risk of keeping these markdown files in here because it's just reading like these design docs. I don't even know if they're
if they're up to date. Yeah. But it looks like, okay, it's still in the planning mode. Should I stop it and delete those and then tell it like restart this?
So I would stop it and copy your prompt
and then just get rid of those and redo it.
You don't need to get rid of them. Just say don't only use the code. Don't use the markdown files.
Okay.
Or don't use the docs folder.
Cool. Slash docs or just docs?
It doesn't matter. That one it'll
understand.
Yeah, I was like, how did your context fill up like almost immediately?
Yeah, it's got to be those big markdown docs.
And actually, update the. like almost maybe we should hide markdown files from the AI agent unless they search for something and they explicitly
Like unless the user says, go read this markdown file, don't.
Like using the
Yeah.
at tool, the reference tool. Yeah.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah, it'll just read the Makko specific markdown, like the dot plan and like any other reference tool doc. Yeah, so just a story about like what Jeremy was saying about how like working on one thing at a time, being precise, clearing your context. I was reviewing somebody's, I don't know, it's kind of like a mile high business plan for what they had an idea for. And they're like, I'm like, oh, maybe, and they had like a roadmap in there. And the roadmap had all these little tidbits about how they're currently like driving a tow truck and how they work on this project when they're not supporting their family. And I'm like, that doesn't belong here. So that's a good example of AI looking at your past context and putting that in a document or a slideshow. And it's like, and then somebody not reviewing that and taking that out.
Well, what Brandon doesn't realize is that person actually asking Brandon for an angel check, and he's crushed now. He went home, he cried, and he told his wife that his business is over.
I hope nobody asked me for an angel check. But no, it's no. I gave him no feedback. Yeah.
But yeah, see, even this far into the plan, you're still not even you're at like 60% context now instead of immediately jumping to like 75, 80%.
Yeah. Wait, actually, are you looking at the back end or is it telling you?
Yeah, I was looking at your request in the back end and your warning thing's not up.
No, yeah, I knew the warning thing was. I just didn't know if there was somewhere I could see 60%.
I was also like so ChatGPT is like very efficient on context. So the fact your last coding plan, it probably read the stuff too, because it's like more efficient than Claude. Claude is kind of not efficient with it.
I think that would make a really good short video or piece of learning content for us because Panda runs into this all the time, and I'm sure other users can run into this too, or they have a bunch of design docs or markdown files that take up all their context for any plan or that they want to do.
It feels like too, like it's doing a bunch of reading on stuff that I probably could give it the context for, like if I needed to. So for like, there's no reason it needed to look through the code to understand that this is how turns work. I could have just included that, right?
Well, yeah, but it should read the code because like you're probably wrong in how you're explaining it. That's why it needs to read the code to know what it's actually doing. This is why I was saying before you reset, getting context from the AI would be better.
I'm gonna do that this time.
But that's like if you're iterating on a problem. That's not like every new conversation, right? Like most conversations, you're gonna tell it a thing and it's gonna go look through it.
Yeah, it's like iterating on a problem, very similar to debugging. And so you want to go in and get the context that you have and or else you're going to have to go find it somewhere else. And so getting all that context in the existing problem will help speed up the solution, like you finding the solution and fixing it.
If I'm doing something in Claude Code, Jeremy, and it says, do you want me to go update the markdown documents that it's looking at? Do I want to do that or do I want to say no?
In Claude Code, you can do whatever you want because you're
resetting the context every time. Yeah.
Well, you're using their compute. So
well, I meant like in actual Claude Code. Like if the different question than what I'm looking at here. Yeah.
Right. That's what I'm answering.
Oh, got it. My bad.
You're using Claude's compute they're giving you, so like you can do whatever you want as long as you're within limits.
Sorry, I shouldn't have said could. I meant like, is that like in the past we've talked about like, hey, don't use Claude Code for this, use Claude Chat for this. But is this, in this case, is it okay to have Claude Code do an update on like a markdown document, I guess is my question, and not like a code document?
What is the markdown document that it wants to update?
The design that it's changing based on the what I gave. Like I gave it a design spec where I did that thing where I said, hey, we're doing this, go write the thing that I need to tell Claude Code to do, and then it did that, and now Claude Code's like, hey, I should go update that thing based on the questions that I just asked.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, you're talking about, so like if the problem is if you're iterating on your design and copy and pasting it in, and you have like versions of the design, like it can update it, but the next time you copy it in, your other conversation doesn't have reference to it, so it's gonna, whatever the update is. So generally, generally speaking,
don't do this and then just make it 3.7 is what I heard you just
said. Yeah, generally speaking, you would have your original design doc and then you'd have iterations on the design. But when you're like prototyping and massively changing the design and you're not an engineer, it's easier to just give it new design docs.
Hard version. Yeah, that makes sense.
But I would never, to me personally, I would never have, like, as I iterated on the thing, I would get ideas and then I would go tell it the systems to build and stuff myself. I would never actually, like just bring in a new design doc over and over again. But that's why I say like vibe coding's different than
engineer assisted coding.
So it didn't do the review and your max context, which is still crazy because like feels like it still read some stuff. So you're not gonna be able to iterate on this, but you can go action it now.
Cool. All right. Sure. I'm just gonna, should I just hit it then because I can't change anything? Or okay, cool.
Yeah. That's what that warning was though, is because
the red over here.
Yeah, you just bumped into max context, and so it wrote the plan, but it can't do anything else.
You know, you guys come and show up and see us working on this every week, and I'm sure to you guys it kind of looks like the same product if you don't show up every week. But for those of us that have been around since the beginning, it's just amazing how different and easier it is to use this thing now that Jeremy and Brandon have been making a bunch of the quality of life updates they've been making, just like, even just the way that the chat kind of folds itself up and allows you to understand what it's doing and kind of dig where you want to dig and not go too deep where you don't want to go too deep has just been super, super nice.
Yeah, one of the issues is every time it's updating and it just read like 50 files just to start coding.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Oh, wow. Look at that. Well, because I think there's 500 and something files in this computer in this game. In this case, like, is it worth it? Like, obviously not going to go back and change anything, but is it worth it in the future to like tell Makko that, say, hey, last time we did this, you ended up having to read like 100 files. Like, let's do some pre-work here, like read those files now and make the plan such that you don't have to go reread them when we're executing the plan. Like,
well, again, if the plan's touching all those files, it's gonna have to.
It has to. Okay.
Yeah, it would be creating a more concise plan, like a smaller focus plan.
Yeah, because like the problem is like you're gonna hit a point really quick where you're deadlocked and can't essentially do anything anymore with how the project's gone. Like, because having to read, because it read 7, 8, 7, that's what, 23 or something, another 23, that's 50. Like that's so many files to have to make a change. Yeah. Like, I'm not quite sure why it would need to read. I don't know what you've been doing, but having to read 50 files, this is also why you don't want bigger tasks. The bigger your tasks, the more AI slop you're going to get.
And so like some of those 50 files, like it might not even need to exist is what you're saying.
Yeah, like you could be supporting 2 game loops right now, potentially with like what the bug looks like, which would be a lot of unnecessary files.
Sure. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Interesting. So in that case, I go through with Mako and like do some optimization and say like, hey, we've observed this, might be an issue. Let's dig in and see if it is. See if like go dig through the code, which again might be an issue with context, and tell me where we have conflicting or duplicative systems, and we can remove those, or like be more specific and say like, hey, I think that the end turn system or the turn system might have duplicative code or systems. Let's go audit that. Or
yeah, I mean,
yeah,
so you could go into chat and ask it for like analyze. This is where I would start. I'd say analyze the code files and give me like just say like every change is having to touch a lot of files. Analyze the code files and tell me the systems you think we should focus on, and then you want to do it system by system. Because if problem is if you go in and you're just like analyze the entire code base,
it's just going to be the same problem.
Yeah, you're gonna run into limits really fast.
Sorry, you said analyze the code base.
Analyze the code file names.
Got it.
And then explore the most likely system you think there's like refactor opportunity or something.
Got it. Yeah. Thank you.
I mean, we also have I don't know if it's like if you go click on refactor code, like go to quick actions and click on refactor code. Because like this is basically becoming apparently this is broken now.
No, I hit the wrong thing.
No, I know, but refactor code says no large files found. So, I mean, maybe they're all like right sized, but it's like clearly
there's just too many of them.
Yeah, clearly something's going on where it's having to read too many. But like I don't even know if you're going to be able to get through some of these plans anymore. Yeah, so
I mean, it looks like it. Yeah, see. It says chat's full, and I mean, I think it's definitely not done yet.
Yeah, you got 5,000 tokens left till it'll cut you off.
Interesting. Cool. So the right step here then is go do that thing that we just said. Every change is having to touch a lot of files, analyze the code files, code file names, blah blah, and then let it do that, and then come back to this and see if I can now run this type of plan without running into the context issue, right?
Yeah. Because like, I mean, honestly, there's really not enough going on in your game. You should be running into this issue because like
yeah, it's a card game.
Well, it's not even that it's a card game. It's that this system, there's like two systems going on your screen, right? And they're like fairly straightforward. So the fact it's gotten into this state means you've probably, just like the Level app, when you first made Mako, you had
500
hundreds and hundreds
tables
and hundreds
that I
of extra
need.
Well, and classes you weren't using. And so the thing is, if you've re-implemented it like 5 times, right?
More than that, but yeah.
Yeah, so if you've re-implemented it like 5 times and it didn't go out and clean up all the old code, every time it searches for like turn order, it's going to come back with like 50 code files because you have a bunch
and we've had like, I mean, this is a change to turn order, but like turns have changed on just this version of the game 4 or 5 times, like the way they were.
And clearly what we would need probably for your project is something that's like, I mean, you can probably use Flash too to do this sort of thing. It's not, no, I mean, the plan. Yeah, chat. Like, you don't need to use Sonnet or Opus for
this
code cleanup.
Okay, cool.
I would do Flash I meant for planning, you probably don't need the big models.
Oh, okay, cool. Got it.
Well, you definitely don't want Opus for building. Go to Luna for building. The cheap one for building.
Oh, got it.
There you go. Like you don't need the hyper expensive ones to look for dead code and stuff. It's
because that is more binary in nature. Like, is it broken or is it not? Versus the human told me to do something and I have to interpret what those words mean.
Well, I mean, realistically, for what you're doing, you probably don't need Opus in the first place. You probably use Flash or GPT for most of this stuff. They're pretty smart. Like GPT, Luna is within like, I think like 10 to 15% intelligence level of Opus now. So like 10 to 15% better, and you're paying 20x the credits, right? So it's
that's wild.
So it is better, but like you're not doing anything complicated here, right? The more complicated thing is like trying to figure out what the fuck's going on with this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm interested to see what it comes back with. Cool. Well, so this is,
So
this is where we
also
oh, sorry, go ahead.
also notice that I don't know how it picked these files out, but it didn't read 100 files. So
Yeah,
I
it
don't
read 6 or 4 maybe. That's crazy. So, all right. Heavy duplication and full screen UI panels, scattered card effect.
I mean, give it a go. See what it does. And then you might, the thing is, because you looked for the highest touch thing, which is correct, but you might want to actually run that prompt again and see what it comes back with. Because
Which is without the highest touch qualifier after it runs.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Now it's starting to read though. Oh
Yeah.
no. But that's right. We expected that, right? Because it's like that's the problem is that it's all...
that is literally the problem, right? Is like that plan was so simple, and then it just read 24 files.
So 36 now.
Oh, there you go. So yeah, quite literally, that's the problem, and this is where, like hopefully it cleans it up and it becomes not as big a problem.
Yep. I mean, it's pretty interesting because like even like working at Amazon, we have a bunch of microservices, and if you don't clean up your code when you refactor anything, it's going to cause a lot of operational problems. It's going to cause a lot of humans to have to go in and gain context on multiple systems to do an easy change. And that's exactly what we're seeing here with AI, is that it is having to gain so much context to make a simple change.
This is wild.
Yeah, and we might want a thing that's literally delete dead code. Cool.
Like it's basically like this prompt, but a button is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, so it's hard. It'd be harder and way more dangerous to delete like code that is not referenced, like functions that are not referenced. But you could do a thing where it's like just delete all the files that are literally not used.
Yeah, if it's a stub or if it isn't referenced in any other file, just get rid of it.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure that's what a lot of these are too. Like when I refactor, it always creates a stub of the bigger file, right? And so I imagine at this point I have 520 files. I imagine I've refactored 10 times. I imagine I have at least 20 or 30 stub files, maybe more.
Or are you talking about, like when you say stub file, what do you mean?
That's what the AI calls it when I talk to it. But like,
because that's a stub is a very specific thing, and I have a feeling you are not talking about a stub.
Yeah. Here we go. Like this. Public re-export barrel. All implementation is moved to /app/store, and these are the existing imports, right? So like this is an example, I think, of like when I've gone and told it like I don't want this kind of stuff. It just goes and removes this like as what I was calling a stub, but I guess barrel import.
And there's different things. So it was refactored out, and you need to all your previous imports still want to import. This file would not get deleted by what I was talking about. Definitely not a stub either. And so, but like barrel import files would not be what's like creating
causing this problem.
Like if it read this file, that's like, let's call it 20 tokens. It's not thousands of tokens, right? So even if it reads 100 files at 20 tokens a pop, you're looking at, let's call it 2,000 to 5,000 tokens, right? So like that's not what's filling your context up.
Got it.
There's got to be other files that are like huge or
that are just not used and being read or something.
Yeah.
I wonder if I got a debug. I have a debug. Yeah, I bet a bunch of this stuff is big too. Oh, here we go. Look, there it is. Ha ha! Economy logger TS stubbed for preview bundle size reduction.
Yeah, so this will be a stub, which is a class that's implemented that has a bunch of functions that do nothing.
When you say it like that, it makes me want to ask why.
Well, yeah, there should be. I'd assume that I don't know what this interface is, why it needs it. But like usually you do it when you don't want, like in a certain environment or something, you don't want it to actually do anything. And so you just want it to like have the same interface so you can test it. So it'll run through the code, do the call, and then it doesn't actually do anything. But like in this specific scenario, I have no idea why.
Yeah, why that would be the case. And nor do I. I just saw the word stub and I was like, I found it.
Well, and this is kind of part of the problem of doing AI slop as input to the ask. Is like you probably at some point in time you probably got some crazy ass design docs from whoever you were generating them from that had just like a bunch of nonsense that you're never going to need. That's why I harp on natural language. Just go explain it to Makko, right? Like,
yeah,
it's the best way to vibe code. And even if you get a design doc, you want it as short and simple as possible, right? Like, this is why, last week we had the, conversation about like trying to get as much out of there as possible, because like the more there is in there, the more likely there's to be shit in there, right? See, I didn't even make it through this.
Yeah.
Oh,
it looks like it was doing stuff too, though, because we're in chat. That's why. Got it.
And it looks like it. I would try to rebuild it, see if it builds. It looked like it mainly got done.
Yeah, hey, look at that.
Final read. Yeah, it was good, doing its final pass. Trying to like error check itself.
It crossed the finish line gasping for error.
I feel like it just passed out right before the finish line. But it was there. It did the race.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean this is actually like a real problem in and we can match the ChatGPT behavior and do 250K maybe, but like I like arbitrarily increasing the context limit still just kind of masks the problem versus like, and it exponentially makes things more expensive, which is why we don't go up. But the way Claude is solving this is they've just made everything 1 million and they're just eating the cost for the time being, which will stop eventually. I guarantee it, because that memory conversation we had earlier. Why do you think we need all that memory? Literally this.
Yeah.
And so the thing is like,
wait, so are you saying Tony, am crushing the global economy?
Yeah. Yes. Well, I mean, yes, in a way. But I mean, honestly, all the vibe code websites, coding in general is like what all the big GPUs are needed for mostly. Like image generators, you can fit on like relatively small GPUs. Video generators are the same thing. It's actually coding that and the language models that are like really complex.
Large, you could say.
Yeah. Large, very large.
Large language models.
I mean, the game works now still, but like, how do I know if it did the thing that's going to let us work on it better? Should I just go do that same thing? Like,
I would just go do the prompt again, see what it does.
Sweet.
Maybe that should be in our delete dead code button or whatever we're calling it. Is it can run this prompt multiple times, like do its own like little workflow.
Yeah, if we just want to spend customers' monies.
That is true. It would just spend customers' money.
Every time you press it, it just does a little cash register sound.
I mean, there's a lot of things we can do if customers want to pay unlimited money.
Yeah.
I think that's another good thing to talk about too, is like, they say in business that you can control 3 things: time, money, or speed, money, and quality. And I think what we're seeing and observing, like even in this scenario here, that oftentimes this, it's true before AI, it's going to be true after AI. If you're optimizing for speed, it's more likely to affect your quality if you're a small team working on something than it is your cost, right? Because you're gonna you're likely
Well,
not
except
going to go
going
pay someone to go
with AI going faster is going to impact your quality and increase your cost.
and it might increase your cost. Well, and as we just saw, it might actually increase your speed, or sorry, it decrease your speed, increase your um, time, the amount of time you have to input, because it might create things that you then have to go unwind, which was only that I guess I would consider that like a product manager problem or a software development manager problem before AI. And now it's truly like an end user problem, right? Like you have to be able, like Jeremy in this call and last call, Jeremy has effectively been a product manager or a software development manager teaching a software development intern that would be fired at the end of the internship how to uh, create software, right? Like what a software cycle looks like and how to do it.
Except I think it's cute that you think the managers taught people that stuff.
I guess yes. Sorry, Jeremy's
No,
Jeremy's
there's a
exit the role of
mentorship program. Yeah.
whoever
Yeah,
taught those
and
people.
every single mentor is an engineer to engineer, not a
Yep.
manager. Managers don't teach. Dude, managers in big tech are one of my least respected positions that exist. I'm not even, at least
No,
at
I know.
Amazon. I didn't
Yeah.
work at Google, Microsoft, Meta, so I can't speak to those. But at Amazon, it's probably my lowest respect role at the entire company. They make more money than engineers, and all they do is go to bullshit meetings and talk about KPIs and then ask their engineers to solve their problems for them.
It's true. Well, I don't know
Yep.
about the engineers, but certainly as a former manager on the business side, that's what it was. I hated it. At one point I looked at my boss and said, "Can I go back and do that other thing? I have two people on my team that make almost as much money as I do, and I'd rather just do their job."
Yeah.
And he didn't like that conversation.
You don't like that? Isn't that crazy though? It's like being a manager at Amazon makes you wish that you never transitioned to be a manager at Amazon, and you want to go back to like being your full product manager or software engineer or whatever it was.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. And it's something, it's crazy because it's something they teach you to strive for. It's like the way to advance. And like, I got there and I was like, I hate everything about this.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
At least at Amazon, where they set you up for failure.
I mean, yeah, I did a bunch of management after Amazon because I came out of that thinking I was a really good manager for some reason. And other people believed I was a good manager. And it was just, even outside Amazon, it's just like, Jeremy's right. Like once you get to that, I'm sure they're better. I'm sure this is not true of all technical manager or managers in technology, but my experience on the business side was that once you like marketing just isn't like that. It's not easy, but it's like not that complex. Like you're writing words and drawing pictures and you're putting them out in places where people are going to look at those pictures and read the words, right? And like a lot of marketing managers are not like marketing managers, a title that honestly doesn't often manage people, but a lot of people who manage marketers get into a cadence where they're just like effectively like copy editors, right? Like you're reviewing the words that are being written again and the pictures that are being drawn. You're like a copywriter, creative director, and it's less like figuring out how much things are going to cost and how much customers are going to make you. And because like in the bigger teams, like there's a human that does that and you review it and you say yes, that's right or wrong, or you argue with them about it. And like that is, again, to Jeremy's point, like it's almost like using the AI. It's like maybe that's why you hate it so much too. Maybe that's why you hate AI take the wheel so much, because it reminds you of shitty management workflows.
I mean, it's 100% true. So the people that are the worst at AI are literal managers. Will you click on explored 58 files and see what it was loading? Like, what is it even? So like, you might as well stop it. It's at full context. You're gonna get in some weird state.
It's gonna give me some sort of Sanskrit reply.
Can you just like go to bot cards or something for me? I'm like very curious. Like open that. Open that in the actual file.
Yep.
was like very curious what this is even.
So bots are a class of card.
Oh my god. Yeah, this is why this is a nightmare. So in any game like this, these should be config files, and you should have like basically just flat configs that have all your card configurations, or even a config per card that gets like merged. So and I was starting to wonder about this. So like scroll down, like how big is this file?
86.
So like so that's not too bad in and of itself, but you like to load the context around cards and how cards work, you have to load every single like configuration for every single card. Which is crazy.
This is what you mean.
Well, there were like 20 files like this.
Yeah, but when you say load every configuration for every card, you're not talking about the file. You're talking about the card within the file, right? Because this has got like 10
loading
cards
the file, so it sees bot cards. It doesn't know what bot cards is because there's no way to know. It's card effects bot cards, so it's reading it thinking that there's. So really, what you need to do is do another plan. I don't know if you'll be able to do this and be like can you ask it to refactor your card code to config files. So, and this is when people talk about AI assisted engineering versus vibe coding. This is a very simple example. Like a vibe coder is probably never going to hit this point. And if you're using Claude Code or something, even Fable, you're going to just keep spinning on this forever and it's never going to get better. An engineer takes 2 seconds and looks at how it's writing code and basically redirects it and goes, no, this is fucking terrible. You need to do a different pattern. And this is why I don't consider them the same thing at all. Because even if I only do that 5 times a day, 5 times a day is directing the code base to the correct path, right?
Yeah. Like those 5 times a day are ultimately more valuable to the quality and the likelihood the game is going to ship than days of full-time. I mean, like this, right? This was work that was done over days, right? Like not this exact file, but like these many files for the cards, right? We did a plan, like when we talked about expanding the cards and having different like card families, we phased it out and stuff, and like we built it and it built exactly what it said it was going to build, but I have no way to know. Well, sorry, there's lots of ways for me to know. I did not know that nor would I expect myself as our customer in like my profile to know that there's a difference between whatever I'm looking at, TypeScript, card, log, or index, whatever you want to call this, and a config file, right?
Yeah. And the way like Codex would handle this, because Codex does not have high limits like Claude, is they have an auto compact feature. I mean, Claude technically does the same thing. It just happens way later. You have an auto compact feature where if you get to like 90%, it'll just, or we could do it at 100% because we do have buffer from the actual model limitation. Yeah. The model limitation is 250K and we don't run it right up against that. Otherwise it will literally just break entirely. But at like our limit, we could start auto compacting, right? We could stop it and go, oh, you need to auto compact, and what that would do is it would prune its conversation and then create, like, basically recreate the conversation, but be able to keep doing the work. So what I use Codex and Claude Code a lot. And in Codex, it is constantly compacting like over and over and over and over. But that's like the route they've chosen to go. It kind of seems like we probably need something like that. But yeah, I'd keep going.
We got to call it the auto compactor though.
Yeah, prove, get it going. And so like what that would do is it's got to read all the files to understand what it's doing, but it doesn't necessarily need all the files, right? So like on a compaction, it would like go through and remove all the file reads and then basically say which files it actually needed and all that stuff. So then it would compact and then it would read the 3 files it needs instead of the 50. The problem is it's just a hyper expensive process, but it is technically more expensive to redo a plan and all that. So it's like there's just not a great pattern here. This is mainly what the entire software industry is trying to solve in a better way right now. So
well, it's funny
this is-
too. Like we talk internally, and we haven't talked a lot about it on this, and we should. But like even last week, Jeremy was talking about like this is what it means to like be on the frontier, or the cutting edge of something. Is like, hey, we know that this thing is a problem, and it's clearly a problem for us as a small company and giant companies like Anthropic and OpenAI. And so we're gonna try some shit that we think might be a good idea that they're doing, and some shit that we think that they're not doing that might be a good idea. But ultimately, the pattern of what is right here is not going to emerge for months or a year or whatever. Probably faster now that because AI is so fast. But there is a pattern here around like how much context to show, when to compact, what compaction should look like on the front and the back end, and no one knows what that is yet.
well, and compaction in general is not the answer. It's just what people are doing.
Yeah.
So compaction is akin to doing what I was saying, where it's like summarize the problem, provide it to another plan, keep going, except it's quite literally a dumber form of it. So basically what'll happen is it'll strip all the tool calls and then it'll summarize what it did in like a paragraph or two. And then so your context resets, but like it doesn't actually know what it did, right? And so the AI is summarizing its work for essentially the AI to keep doing the work. And so we have some like persistent files like the to do and the plan and all that. So it would obviously reread those things and know where it left off and everything. But yeah. All right. So actually close.
It's already done.
Go to the edited files. Yeah, the edited 5 files. I just want to like see real quick what's in there. No, hold down. It's right there under no, it's like literally under the thing you clicked on.
Oh, look at that.
Like station screen router. Oh, it just updated the same file.
Same file 5 times.
All right. See if your game works. Step 1.
Look at that. Load.
Yeah, it would close bot cards. Yeah, make sure all your cards and shit load. So like anyways, I'm sure there's 1,000 things like that in your game that like there's just hyper more efficient ways to do it. And I actually don't know what it. So like.
Looks like it's working.
Yeah, okay. So scroll up in your conversation. I just want to see. What's the edited 9 files there in the middle of your screen? No, you were just hovering over it.
Oh, there we go. Sorry, I was looking at right. I was expecting it in gray.
So it's card config types. So go to like, yeah, go to cards. Actually, ask it in chat and say, did you delete any unused code files? This is like weird. It should be deleting stuff when it's done. This I think is like the biggest issue is like it doesn't look like it's actually deleting the. So say we want to migrate usage to the new classes and delete the old files.
Is that right?
Yep.
No, I did not. You're fucking lazy.
It's like, oh yeah, I'll complete it.
Here is a thing we can do on the system prompt side is we probably should say, do not do compatibility wrappers migrate in full, because like that I think is where you're running into a ton of issues is there's compatibility layers everywhere and it's never migrating anything fully. And this is where, yeah, we can do that in the system prompt, but I think we can probably build a tool to find most of these things. And then basically the AI can do a review of it and then start deleting them. I always feel uncomfortable just doing like a delete everything button. At least if the AI reviews it.
Yeah.
It has a chance to say you shouldn't delete this thing. It's funny, folks, if you're watching, this is actually part of like my favorite. One of my favorite parts of this stream, and I think it's where you guys get a lot of value too. Is I probably use the tool closest to someone who's not an engineer, as anyone on the team, and I feel like every time Jeremy and Brandon watch me mess around with the site, we find either things that I didn't know that I could do better with tools that already exist, or situations like this where it's like, oh, like this is clearly a problem that like if you're not an engineer, you're probably not going to understand. Here's how we might fix that with tooling. Is just a valuable conversation for us to have as a team.
Yeah, for sure. And it's great that you're able to do some of this vibe coding stuff to push the existing system to its limits so we can identify and fix.
And then Jeremy, what does it say build 12 game? Is it trying to say something else there and just cut off? Or
So, if you go to your settings, you say show analysis warnings in console. And then, so if you reload, that's just, you should probably not be having log spam too. You should regularly check that. No, like reload the game. Now you have all these lint warners. So,
look at that.
So game warnings are like common things the AI messes up, and it tells the AI like, hey, you need to do this thing, but they don't explicitly have to ignore them. So the AI keeps going, yeah, not an issue, not an issue.
This is incredibly valuable though, because like this, I wouldn't know anything about what this error means until the M dash, after the M dash. But like the little it will be invisible or it will freeze is like really valuable.
Yeah, but that's for the AI to read. So that's why it's hidden by default. That's not really for the users. It's just if you want to have them. So every time the AI builds, it gets these warnings back as warnings to say like, hey, go potentially fix this issue.
That makes sense.
So here's another thing you can do is go to chat mode. Just regular chat mode. So it cleaned up all your code files now. So that's the big thing. We need to update it in the system prompt about we need, not just leave code files around forever. No, you don't need summarize.
Well, I was gonna ask, like, can I summarize what it just did and give me a prompt to go look for other files and folders like this? Because we just told it to do cards.
No, because like cards are very specifically a configuration based thing. I mean,
got it.
But all we did was migrate all these classes to config files.
Got it. Okay, cool. All right, so I'm in chat.
So go to chat and say, hey, can you resolve all the game warnings in the build?
Smells so good.
And because with the system prompt is guided, and it might just be that these existed long before we added this. System prompt is guided to only fix errors with code that it changed. So like if these predated the system, unless you go and tell it to fix the build errors, it wouldn't do it.
It's just not going to do it. Yeah.
And this is really the hard thing with vibe coding. And this is, so you have like Lovable's solution, which is to hide everything from the user. But we see how that works, right? It doesn't work. And so like part of this is like, I've built it in here where if you're interested, you can go see and you can learn to use the tool better. But what you're doing right now is a basic thing that AI would just do. Like a programmer would just do. Like the build would have warnings and you'd fix the warnings. And like as a programmer, if the AI didn't fix them, you would tell them to go fix them. And so it's just one of those things where just a very different
workflow. It'd be like if I was reading an email and there was a typo. It'd be insane for me not to fix the typo.
Right. So like when it finishes, you can go, were there any actual issues or were they just false positives? And it'll tell you.
I think
Which
it's cool.
might be-
You can like see it burning it down. Brought one back. Look at that.
It's always the worst feeling as an engineer when you fix a warning and 2 more pop up. And you're like, oh.
It's like a Hydra.
Doesn't happen all the time, but yeah.
You know when I knew that I wasn't meant to be a software developer? I went to a computer camp, which is a thing that existed when I was growing up.
Yep.
And part of it was like how to make video games, and they gave us a copy of Neverwinter. We bought it, part of our fee was they gave us a copy of Neverwinter Nights, and I remember trying to make scenarios and stuff, and like trying to get a character to walk around a room and like not being able to, and none of this existed. So I'd get errors that didn't mean anything to me. I probably spent like 2 days on it, and then I was like, this is not something that I'm going to be good at. It sounds like.
That's cool they had the opportunity to figure that out. I like that.
It doesn't look like they were false positives because it said they corrected stuff, but I'm going to ask anyway. Oh, it says most. Seatbelt. Oh, got it. This is great.
Cool.
Yeah. So if they're false positives, the AI just looks at it and marks it as false positive, and then it moves on. So anyways, now if you refresh, they won't be there. And now every time it builds, it will fix them automatically.
Had to put a cone on the dog yesterday.
Oh no.
She got an itchy spot and was chewing on it too much, so I had to get her a little notch. It's a big cone. She's got a big head.
Isn't that crazy? It's like, ow, something on my body doesn't feel right. I'm just going to agitate it until it feels worse.
Yes. Filthy animal.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at that. This is great.
Yeah, so now that's done. So what you might be able to say is like, go back to plan mode. I'll just see if it can do this. And say like, look for the top 5 systems that haven't been fully migrated or cleaned up.
Oh, I like that.
And clean them up and delete the dead code. So, like clearly we need a better process for some of this, but it's kind of just toward legacy. Oh, there you go.
Well, yeah,
it searched legacy across all your files, and so you probably have a ton of files that are tagged as like legacy, and so now it's reading the systems.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so like we could go in and like look for keywords like legacy or like wrapper or something like that, or stub.
Yeah, I mean, what we need in the system prompt for sure is it basically needs to guarantee that it'll fully migrate things when it's like refactoring, because that's really the issue here is like as it refactored, it just left cruft everywhere.
Well, it's wild because it deleted all those files, but it must have added more because I've got more files now than when we started that process.
Well, it added config files when it deleted the files.
Oh, got it.
So now if you go back into wherever the cards were at, like just search config in the search files. I'm sure it's like will come up. So now now if you click on any of these .config files, just open them. So now they're basically config files. So instead of a bunch of code, they're config, and the game, and most importantly, the AI clearly knows they're config files.
This is awesome.
So then it can read the types, know the shape, and it doesn't need to know the config unless it's adjusting balance or something.
Yeah. It just needs to know show this thing, not this is what that thing is.
And so whatever your files are named matter a lot, because that's essentially the first line of traversal for your AI.
Well, and I think like a month ago or 2 months ago, you were like, Tony, you got to stop caring about how many files are in your game because it doesn't matter. It's like what the files are. This is what you mean by that. Like we could have 5,000 config files and it's fine because it's not going to go read them.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I mean, it is still crazy because 500 files is a lot for what you got going on here. But so I do think there's a lot of dead files, which are also not good because that confuses the AI.
Well, it stopped too. Like, should I just tell like keep going?
Yeah, I don't know why. Something you did could have caused a remount and it didn't auto retry. That's what I was actually when we're trying to debug some of the random stopping. I don't actually think the AI randomly stops. I think there's some user action that occurs, like you're clicking around on the website or doing other stuff, and then there's something
that's making it do that. That's
there's something that
it.
that unmounts the AI chat at some point, because this is all client side at this point. Like we route the AI chat through the back end, but it like the actual tool calls and stuff are all client side. So it's not like there's the quote unquote best way to do this would just the server would handle it all, and then this would just be an interface into whatever the server was doing. But that's way more complex. Also doesn't really improve quality. It just does that one thing, basically.
Yeah. So a good trade-off.
Yeah.
Especially for a startup.
Yeah, definitely not something we need right now.
Massive amount of work, tiny impact. Do it. Johnson, you're a genius. It was really weird being in I was in that whatever that last building that we were in Twitch Prime. I can't remember what the name of it was. The one that's down on
Oscar,
yeah, the one that's across from that pizza place. And it was weird being in there again. Gave me the willies.
Oh, yeah, you sent the address and it was like on that. I'm like, oh, I know that address. That's Oscar.
Yeah.
On the second floor, I know those meeting rooms.
Yeah. I was like, oh, I've been in OLR meetings deciding people's futures in these rooms.
That is true. Yeah.
Oh, reviewing the plan.
Let's go. Yeah, everyone was upset that Oscar wasn't named after Twitch Prime in some capacity. It's named after the Oscar that was it? I forgot the name. Yeah. Just named after the Oscar that show, that Prime Video show won.
All right.
I'm doing it.
Send it.
Send it. Jesus, Claude, take the wheel. GPT, Luna, take the wheel. God damn, 21 files. Every legacy module and its active replacement.
That should be your short video. Gosh, 21 files, snort, and then go through how it made the game so much better.
Yeah. This is wild.
But yeah, all those files I read just bumped the context up like 60,000, right? So like,
really?
Yeah. So it's just like a huge amount of reading. And I mean, the goal is, so one of the reasons I'm working on the engine piece is like you would only write scripts, and a lot of the like tunneling and stuff wouldn't exist. So there'd by default be config files and scripts more so than like all this other crazy shit. So like you naturally would get way less files to traverse through. Because like if you did the same thing in Godot right now, or even Unity or Unreal, you would have like a fraction of the files. Like you'd probably get maybe 10 or 15 files, right? Like it'd be very. But see, like this is all just the first task, it deletes like
4. Well, no, it said 4, but it's that one's like 6.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
And then more. Here we go. Another stub excision.
So this one might be worth running again, because, and like I said, like we have a systemic thing here, which is like it's not actually migrating stuff, which is bad. So we can solve that going forward, but you know, as far as legacy, that's unfortunately the thing about code. And every programmer will tell you this. You got a shit code base. You got a shit code base.
Shit code base. Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what we do going forward. We could, you know, you could do a new game and then it could be like the most immaculate thing ever, but your old shit may just be terrible.
Yep.
Yeah, you can bake a mud pie and put lots and lots of whipped cream on the top. You're still gonna eat mud.
Right.
Igor's giving you a good shout out about your game.
Oh, love that guy. Thanks, Igor. My boy, Igor. Checking.
And I was just doing I've thought about taking these final review things out, but it does still occasionally catch it.
I feel like I catch stuff like, or I'm not doing anything. I feel like Makko catches stuff like multiple times, 2 or 3 times a day when I'm working on it. If I'm working on it, like, you know, multiple hours in a day.
Also, it's been great. The dev box is already paying dividends because, like, as it's like building and doing shit in the background, my video and shit doesn't randomly freeze out because that was
nice.
That's amazing.
All right, seems to work. All right, this prompt I would run again until it's like there's nothing to migrate.
Until it's like we're good. Yeah.
Yeah, because now go back to your files and see how
it looked like it might be missing like some check mark or something, but but
we're okay.
You'll be able to fix that a lot easier with this refactor.
Let me go.
Well, and this is true. This is true for everything. Is like this is why people don't like to refactor. It's because you break shit.
Yep.
Go to your file folder view again. The 520. So you just dropped like 35 files.
Yeah, dude, that's wild. Look at that.
And that was just, you know, a reduced scope.
Mm-hmm.
Also interested if you go back if the AI stopped. Go back to the AI now. I don't know what causes the unmount. Nothing should cause the unmount. I don't know why. It should be mounted for virtually the entire site. But yeah, so this is where, and I was like, damn, 550 files. That's
it had a code smell.
Yeah, that's a lot. Like that's like, let me.
Like Diablo 2 is 500 files.
Oh, I mean, those games are.
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah.
See. How many files are in? See how many files are. Yeah, so there's 2,500 Git tracked files, which is about the equivalent in our repo for all of Makko. So our entire platform is only 5 times bigger than your game.
That is wild. That is wild.
And that includes like our admin dashboarding and all of that.
Yeah.
So
that is funny.
That's why I was like, 500 files seems like a lot. Like,
yeah, that's a little bit.
But I would be very aggressive on this sort of thing when Claude's writing code and stuff, right? Like it'd be like, hey, I notice you're not fucking refactoring. I notice you're leaving shit behind. Do the full refactor. Because like Claude Code and Codex will be like, I did the thing, but I left everything. And I'm like, no, fucking delete the thing. What are you talking about? Like,
Oh, so this isn't just a Makko thing. This is like
No,
this is one of those like working with AI things.
Yeah, this is why Lovable was so terrible.
Yeah.
Right, because you did
When you
that.
sorry, when I heard you say this is why Lovable was so terrible, I actually just internalized that as and OpenAI and Anthropic have fixed that.
No. Like they play it safe by default, which is never delete anything.
That sounds like the opposite of what you need to do with this problem that we're having. Dude,
Well,
look
it is the
Look at
opposite
this.
of
30 files it's gonna look at.
It is the opposite of actually creating maintainable software. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then if you go through this exercise and you clean up your code and refactor, then the AI, like, it can find this good pattern that you've approved and follow that without a lot of correction later.
This is wild. Well, everyone, we are now 30 minutes over our normal time. I'm going to do our little, unless Jeremy, do you have more you want to dive into with this or?
No.
All right. We'll do our little intro or outro. Thanks for hanging out with us today, guys. As a reminder, we do this every week at 8:30 a.m. Pacific on Wednesdays. Please stop by and hang out. Igor and Vince, it's always good to see you here. Hope we see some more of you in the future. If you haven't joined our Discord, it's discord.gg/Makko, Makko. Feel free to drop by and hang out. We do giveaways and contests all the time. So if you come and make a video game or make a animation or a piece of art and share it with us in our channel or on our subreddit, we pick the best ones and give them a $50 Steam gift card to go get some video games. And then we have office hours at noon on Pacific on Fridays. So if you want to come show us what you're working on or ask us questions or see what we're working on like this, you're welcome to do that. I haven't been at the last few, but I'll be there more frequently starting this Friday as well. And lastly, if you have any questions or struggling with doing something on the website or vibe coding in general, you can always watch any of our educational videos on YouTube. We have a number of how-tos. And then if you're really struggling, feel free to always just shoot us an email at support@makko.ai. And we can get the three of us read that every day. So we're happy to get back
and
to
jump in the Discord.
Yep. And jump in the Discord and ask questions. Tag anyone with Makko and their name can answer a question for you.
Yep.
So thanks everyone. We appreciate it. And we hope you have a great rest of your week. Talk to you soon.